Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the National Park of Speed Road America for the 69th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprints, rounds 19 and 20 of the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. Want to welcome you all, and thank you for joining us here. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, along today with Brendan Kazmarek. Good afternoon, Brendan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ginsberg. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. We have got a full slate of qualifying ahead of us here today. To give you a quick little rundown of our schedule, we are going to have this afternoon make that 7 qualifying sessions this afternoon, and then we're going to start racing tomorrow morning. But want to thank you for joining us out. Most of our racers have been out for some practice sessions this morning. Some of them even ran some test days yesterday, but today, 25-minute qualifying sessions. First group up, as you can see them here, making their way down the hill towards turn 3, a beautiful 4-mile, 14 turn. Road America, Formula F, Formula V, and Formula 600.
Yeah, there's a real electricity to this place this weekend, Greg.
Yes.
We're trying marking new pathways here, let's say, in a couple of different ways. 580 cars pre-registered for the event. As far as we know, fairly confident that is the largest June sprints of all time. As you mentioned, the 69th consecutive SCCA June sprints. And we've never had one bigger than we've got in 2024. Of course, the runoffs will be coming back here later on this year, which is a big part of that increased entry count. We've also got 10 races this weekend, 10 race groups.
That's more than we've had all season long on the Super Tour.
I think ever in the Super Tour.
Right.
I think we've had a couple of 9s through the course of last year on some of the bigger events. We've never pushed 10, and you can thank the B-Spec and the production field for that one. Initially, we had 98 cars entered in Group 2, and they decided that probably wasn't going to work.
Probably not going to work so well.
So we've got Group 2A, which is your production cars, your GTLs, E-Prod, H-Prod, and F-Prod, and then the GT Lights. And then Group 2B is going to be a field of about 40 B-Specs.
Yes.
Which I'm not a part of many of these groups over on Facebook, many of these competitor groups, but I was invited to the B-Spec production group. They do a lot of work recruiting and getting folks involved and in attendance at these events. So big kudos to everybody who signed up for these WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints in 2024. It is a phenomenal way to cap off what has already been a pretty amazing Hoosier Super Tour season.
Yeah, and should mention that that 40-plus cars in B-Spec, I think the largest national level field that we've had in B-Spec, with the exception of the National Championship runoffs at Indianapolis Motor Speedway back in 2021, where we had, I believe, 49 that came out and joined us for that national championship. Was we have the green flag in the air, again, starting at 25 minutes of qualifying. I do have some of the times that came in from practice this morning, Brendan, where it was a bit cooler, but it wasn't that much cooler. It was about 7 degrees cooler, about 70 degrees ambient air temperature. It is very, very humid here at Road America this weekend, as we're seeing it through much of the Midwest and much of the East Coast here. Our fastest Formula 6 racer, Calvin Stewart, is our reigning national champion. He put in a time of 2:22.8. That was 1.1 seconds clear of another former national champion, Sven de Vries, out of Holt, Michigan. In Formula F, Matteo Naranjo was our fastest driver. The Edwards, Illinois racer put in a time of 2:24.6, and that was about a half second clear of Trevor Russell, with Calvin Kautz another 0.3 back from there. And in Formula V, and we've got a very large Formula V field here this weekend as well, Brendan. As a matter of fact, our Formula V field is, I believe, 15 cars deep. Our provisional, well, it wasn't a provisional pole sitter, again, just practice. We're talking practice this morning.
We are talking about practice.
That's right. Andrew Whitston out of Neenah, Wisconsin, in the Rocket Motors machine. He was your fastest driver at 2:45.3, a full second faster than, well, another one of the many Whitstons in the field, Steve Whitston, who turned in a 2:46.3. Andrew Abbott, another 0.3 back from there.
Unless you catch a draft exactly right, being a second quicker than anybody in Formula V is tough to do.
Yeah, especially here at Road America, given how long the many straights are here. The run out of turn 14, the final corner, down to turn 1, the Road America straight. Of course, a good portion of that is uphill, so absolutely critical that you get a good run out of the final corner, especially in a Formula V.
Actually, most of it's uphill, Greg. It's not just that big climb you see under the NTT data bridge in this next camera, that right here, in fact. It's that the uphill climb continues from the crest of the hill under the bridge all the way until you get basically to pit out. That whole stretch you're climbing.
And then it flattens out and even drops down a little bit right here going into turn 1. But then you've got that huge straightaway coming out of turn 3, the moraine sweep, which brings you through the what's the word I'm looking for? Through the speed traps going down into turn 5. The moraine sweep there. We've also got, of course, that long straight, the kettle bottoms coming out of the kink. Yeah, as we've got cars already challenging here in what probably I've always found when I've raced here, probably turn 3 was the most difficult turn for me. It's very deceptive there. That with a lot of the 90-degree corners that you have here at Road America, you want to turn in maybe a little bit later. I always had trouble at turn 3. Getting onto the throttle a little bit later, turning the grill a little bit later, and not running into the grass. We've got somebody having some mechanical issues.
It's an F6, I think, Greg. Just pulled off there behind the curb on driver's right, going into turn 5, and then we'll take the escape road into the paddock area, just to the west side of the main paddock road.
Yeah, we're trying to get a car number. We'll get a number on that. Right
Car's
now,
over at 13 is 12 and 13. We've got yellow flags based on the Flagtronics output we have here.
And it looks like that car is now continued. And here he is actually now
another
coming
F6.
through 14. Yeah, another one of our F6 drivers. As they're maybe having a little trouble getting some heat in the tires here early on. We suspect that this driver will probably, he's going to continue on for another lap. We'll get the car number here in just a moment. As you can see, we've got our timing tower, our ticker there on the left-hand side of the screen. That was the number 98 car that had spun over coming out of Canada Corner, turn 12, and was a little bit off pace coming up through Bill Mitchell Bend over at 13. Currently, fastest driver on track, and your fastest Formula 6 driver, Sven de Vries, with a time of 2:23.14, and that is 1.1 seconds clear of Aaron Ellis. But just as I say that, Calvin Stewart goes to the top of the leaderboard, turns in a 2:21.583, almost 0.4 of a second clear of the rest of the Formula 6 field. In Formula F, Calvin Kautz, your fastest driver at the moment. He's got a time of 2:25.1. That is 0.2 of a second clear of Jason Martin. Matteo Naranjo, who was our fastest driver in practice this morning, he's only 0.02 of a second back from Jason Martin. So pretty darn close there. Second and third, James Weida, his Formula 6 car. Seventh fastest driver.
Rewind into the kink.
Oh, here we go.
And gets sorted out. The kudos to the Formula F there towards the back of that string of Vs who saw 3-wide developing and decided to abandon whatever flying lap he might have been on.
Yeah, exactly.
And let it all play out in front of him. This is a tricky old session, Greg. We've got 20, as the car goes wide there, the exit of turn 3. It's a 25-minute session.
Right.
Overall entries, we've got 51 cars who have turned a lap time in this session thus far. And on a 4-mile track, you'd think, well, even with 51 cars, you've got plenty of room. The problem is it takes 2 minutes and 21 seconds to do a lap if you're Calvin Stewart. Considerably longer than that if you're in a Formula F or a Formula V,
yeah,
especially,
in a
right?
V, it's 2 3/4 seconds.
And that is the problem, right? Yeah. It's not that you need clear room, clear road to yourself. It's that if you are held up by traffic at any point during your hot lap, the lap is gone.
Exactly.
And you've wasted 2.5 minutes.
That's right.
And now, all of a sudden, you have 2.5 minutes for your outlap, 3 minutes for your outlap, 2.5 minutes to get up the temperatures up, the pressure's up, and now your first flying lap is ruined. And all of a sudden, you're down to 14 or 15 minutes left. Right? This session is going to tick away incredibly quickly. And with all this traffic, the Formula Vs in front of the Formula 6s and the Fs, and the way those cars will interact with each other, it's going to be really hard to find yourself a clear lap where you're not either giving space to traffic or being impeded by traffic.
Exactly. And so one other thing, and we were talking about this morning, Brendan, is because we have 10 different race groups this weekend, one of, I would say a change, but one of the very important things that our drivers need to keep in mind, and we'll let you know also, is that our racers at the end of a session are going to be shown a checkered flag coming out of Canada Corner, coming up through Bill Mitchell Bend, turn 13, in the final corner, 14. And when that checkered flag is out, the drivers have been requested that they bring their cars onto the pit lane as they come out of turn 14. They're not allowed to complete the flying lap that they're on. So these drivers, they really need to get things done and start a flying lap with at probably at most about 5 or 4.5 minutes remaining on the lap, because that final lap of the session is essentially going to be a cool down for them, as we've got one of our Formula Vs pulling off over at turn 13, coming up through Thunder Valley. I'll try and get the number on that in just a moment.
Yeah, it looked like another Formula 6 there through the back door at 13. Fairly close to pit entry, but the one thing it does save you if you're down on power or out of power is it saves you having to climb that hill out of 14 and up into pit entry.
Yeah.
So a better option there for everybody if you find yourself in trouble around the kink or Canada Corner there, just trying to coast your way back to the paddock. Top speeds there in the braking zone for turn number 5, 130 miles an hour for a pair of Formula Fs.
That's just absolutely stunning there. Absolutely stunning as we see him come down into the speed zone over at turn number 5.
Yeah, I've heard we also have a Speedville this weekend, and I think I'm going to have to take a trip over there. Well, yeah, the camera's gone down. It's been up for most of the day, but obviously we had a little thunder shower earlier on during our practice sessions, and I think that may have been our one casualty out there.
Speedville is now Wetville.
It sure is. Yes. Yeah, Dampville over there before you get into Chipville on the backside.
That's right. And so Brendan, as we've been watching the weather radar here, this may be the last dry session that these racers get. It looks like it's going to be
last a little longer than that.
Well, I hope. Well, but for these racers, at least, it may be, because the next time they're going to be on track is tomorrow. We're anticipating a lot of precipitation here at Road America tomorrow. Sunday actually might be a little bit better. So for our future races, tomorrow, 25-minute timed races. And then on Sunday, they are quite a bit longer. The races are going to be, they're going to be 13 laps, which comes out to, for the majority of our group, for our big bore group, our big GT cars, what have you, they are going to have a slightly longer race, a 15-lap race. But those are about 40-minute races, give or take.
Yeah, no time limit officially this weekend unless we end up in a situation on schedule. As we see a yellow flag here, the exit at turn number 3. It's a blue Formula 6. Bad day to be in a Formula 6.
Yeah, apparently, yes. Apparently, a lot of our Formula 6 drivers having some issues here today. I'm trying to get the number on that car as well. And also getting word that the 86 machine, that is George Bugg, in his
Formula 6.
Yes, has pulled his car off track. And
that appears to be up at turn 8. Up into Speedville there.
Yeah, and so Bugg, who was our 2023 Southern Conference Majors champion and 3-time SARC Division champion, he has now pulled his car off. We also have a local caution now over at turn 7. That may be a backup for what's as we probably have emergency services vehicles that are going to be responding to that momentarily.
Yep, those marshals hiding behind the tree there on the right-hand side. I'll tell you what, we've been coming here for a few years now at DriversEye Live. That tree has grown substantially. Our camera position has not, but gradually
it works its way in more and more.
Yeah, to the right side of the shot there.
All right, let me do this real quick, Brendan. Let me make a first call to the grid for our next group, and we'll take a quick little break. Attention in the paddock, attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for race group 2A and 2B. Race group 2A, E production, F production, H production, and GT Light. Group 2B, that's B-Spec. Please start heading to the grid. Race groups 2A and 2B. Please start heading to the grid. All right, we're going to take a quick little break. Thanks to our partners and sponsors. We'll be back here from I almost said Road Atlanta, Road America, with more qualifying action from the June sprints.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. At Hoosier, we know that our success is dependent on how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Racing Tire dealer near you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly tires designed for champions.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for SCCA and provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. Hagerty also provides guaranteed value coverage and even has protection for your trailer. And did you know that SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty? Hagerty, let's drive together. Learn more at Hagerty.com.
Bravo Trailers is the exclusive trailer partner of the SCCA. Owned by longtime SCCA racers, Bravo Trailers work better, load easier, and tow better because we build them with racers in mind. Visit bravotrailers.com to see your new trailer in aluminum or steel.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for the hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid. Hawk has all your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
It's the 2024 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, the premier amateur road racing series bringing together top SCCA road racers from around the country. The Hoosier Super Tour visits some of the greatest tracks in North America, showcasing each of our 28 car classes. From production to GT cars, prototype to Formula cars, the Hoosier SCCA Super Tour packs a ton of wheel-to-wheel racing action into every event.
And welcome back, everybody, to the 9th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprints. Gregg Ginsberg, we got Brandon Kazmarek here, and about a little bit under 7 minutes remaining in our Formula F, Formula V, and Formula 6 qualifying session. Currently, our fastest driver on track, Calvin Stewart, driving the number 07 Nova car out of Novi, Michigan. He's got a qualifying time of 2:20.405. That is 4:45. Pardon me. That is just about a half second still up on Sven de Vries, two-time national champ. Actually, both he and Calvin Stewart, two-time national champions. De Vries also in a Nova car. He's out of Holt, Michigan. Aaron Ellis in the Ellis AE16. He's out of Farmington, Minnesota. He's your third fastest driver right now, and he is 2 seconds off of De Vries' time. 3.9 seconds, 3.3 seconds now off of Calvin Stewart. In Formula 6, or probably that was Formula 6 and Formula F, Matteo Naranjo with a qualifying time of 2:24.69, and so he is just about 2/10 up on Zach Rivard in the number 27 Van Diemen. Calvin Kautz in his Honda-powered Piper, another 2/10 back from there with a qualifying time of 2:25.1, and in Formula V, Andrew Whitston with a qualifying time 2:43.8.5. Andrew Abbott, he is 85 hundredths back from there with a 2:44.7, and Brian Farnham trails Andrew Abbott by 2/1000ths of a second. He's 86 hundredths off of the pole, and then Ron Whitson currently sitting at 4th.
Quick hello to our associate producers in the chat. A number of you here to check in on the professor, Jordan Worth, this weekend.
Yes, a lot of people.
Our producer, back at the professor's home up here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Happy to have Jordan along doing his fine work for the last time in the 2024 Hoosier Super Tour season. Sadly,
I'm just upset that Juan Chi Lin was here for Jordan and not here for me, because I think I probably called more races. Another driver off heading through the back door there over between 13 and 5.
One quick announcement to make here, Greg, and this is passed along from Race Control. For those of you that are trackside with us here, one of the many spectators or down in the paddock, we do have a little bit of weather moving in from our west, and we've been asked to pass along a note to please secure your loose items. If you've got anything that might blow around in a little bit of a thunder shower here, just find a safe place for it for the next little while. Looks like, based on our radar here, it shouldn't be anything too major, but definitely some rain and probably a little associated wind to come with that.
B-Spec cars, time down. Formula V, well, they're on track right now. Formula V's, time down.
Oh, they'll love the tailwind. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly.
Bring it on.
That's right. Yeah, but it's an awful bad headwind when they head down the next straight. And look at this. I think we're going to go 7 wide into turn 1 here.
And I'll tell you what, Greg. If you've never driven around Road America,
I have though.
If you haven't,
okay,
it is deceptively narrow.
Yes, it is.
I mean, even sim racing doesn't really do the width of the track justice here.
Well, I believe 55 feet wide, if I remember correctly. I'm sure somebody will in the chat. Well, I was going to say, I was fairly certain that it was 55, but I don't think the width has changed since the track has opened.
It's not, but it's just not a wide track in general.
Right.
It's 3 cars wide. If you're lucky, you can squeeze in a 4th with 2 wheels on the grass.
And 6
It's
Formula
not
Vs.
advised, but it is a really, really fast and really narrow track that I don't know if that gets talked about the way that it should when you're doing, 130, 140 miles.
I mean, it rewards smoothness, and as you can see here, as drivers come out of turn team underneath the Corvette bridge and into turn 6, we've got actually, that's over there. That there's a very wide exit curve, which allows you to open up corners and carry more speed, and even here right at the apex of turn 7, although you'll notice kind of gator teeth there. There's a risk reward thing
all
there.
The curbs here very aggressive. Apex and exit.
That you have to, if you're going to use them, and if you can use them, and a lot of the formula cars here, there are sections of the track that they can't. You definitely have to have the suspension tuning to be able to handle those gator teeth and still be able to carry exit speed out of these turns. As we're just getting word from some of our folks here, some of our weather prognosticators at Road America. They think the rain is maybe about 5 minutes out, Brendan.
I think we've seen a few sprinkles out on some of our trackside cameras. Yeah.
And we can see there at turn 5. And this is actually one of the corners here over at turn 5, and we'll probably see this in our next group with our small bore and certainly the B-Spec cars, where they will use much more of that curbing driver's right as they come down the hill. And we don't have it there on the camera, but there is a very, very wide expanse of curbing on the exit of turn 5 that, again, if the car is set up correctly, will really help you slingshot up a very steep hill underneath that Corvette bridge into turn 6. As we are now starting with about a minute left, we're starting to see the Formula Vs head into the pits. And remember, Brennan, what I had mentioned was, as soon as that checkered flag comes out, you're not going to be able to make it up the Road America straight and take the checkered flag at the start-finish line. And so I think these racers with a minute 20 realize that they would never be able to complete another flying lap. So they basically lost 2 laps.
Yeah. Well, here it's kind of coinciding with the start of the rain, and we saw a bunch of cars bail out into the pit lane, basically the lap that it started.
Yeah.
And to some degree, if you haven't gotten your fastest lap by now, unless you were held up by traffic on every lap, you're likely not going to complete a faster one. It is worth noting here, based on your to follow up your discussion about the checkered flag down at Canada Corner, Bill Mitchell Bend, and at turn 14, the timing line has not been moved.
That's correct.
Right. So for Pro Series, a lot of times for qualifying sessions, they'll move to an alternate timing line,
which is just before you get the 14.
Exactly, at the top of Bill Mitchell Bend there at 13 and 14. Here this weekend, we don't change the course configuration or anything like that. Start finish is start finish, and as you said, if you don't get your flying lap started before about 2:30 left, you're not going to be able to finish the lap.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where we find ourselves here anyway.
Yeah, indeed. And so with the rain coming down, most of these drivers realizing that they're not going to be able to put in any faster times. It's just if somebody, for whatever reason, felt that they couldn't get anything in. Let's do this, Brendan. Let's make another call to the grid for our next group. We'll run down what we see as the qualifying results and how we will likely see the grid set tomorrow, and then we'll take another quick break. Tension in the paddock, tension in the paddock. Second call to the grid for race groups 2A and 2B. E production, F production, H production, and GT Light. And B-Spec, please start heading to the grid. Race groups 2A and 2B, E production, F production, H production, GT Light, and B-Spec. If you haven't already done so, and it looks like a lot of you are up there already, please head to the grid. All right, let's take a quick look and see how things wrap up here as the checkered flag is out, and likely will not see any other drivers unless, unless they want to incur the wrath of the stewards. Likely won't see them take the checkered flag over there by the tire rack starter bridge. In Formula F, our fastest racer on track, Matteo Naranjo, with a qualifying time at 224.279, 0.6 of a second clear of Zach Rivard. Rivard will start second. Calvin Kautz starts third in Formula F with a qualifying time at 225.1. Ted Burns, a 225.25, scheduled to start third, and then Jonathan Kotick. And actually, let me double check here. Yeah, there we go. Jonathan Kotick will start fifth in Formula F. By the way, Naranjo was our fourth fastest driver over all the three drivers that finished ahead of him on track. Were all Formula 6 machines led by Calvin Stewart. Calvin Stewart will be your pole sitter with a 220.445 as his time, 1 second clear of Sven de Vries. Another second back from there, Aaron Ellis with Jason Martin, 1.8 seconds back from there. They are your top four, your front two rows in Formula 6. And then in Formula V, Andrew Whitston, your provisional pole sitter, qualifying time at 243.8. That is 85, almost 86 hundredths clear of Andrew Abbott, pardon me. Andrew with a time of 244.7. Brian Farnham, third fastest at 244.7. Ron Whitston at a 244.9. And then the wild card, John Adams, inserting himself between all the Abbotts and the Whitstons here. John Adams out of Whitmore Lake, Michigan, is scheduled to start fifth. Zach Whitston, sixth.
Very good, Greg.
Yes.
Why don't we go ahead and take our break here? They just gave a 5-minute warning to the grid for our production qualifying group. B-Spec will follow in a seamless format, so we're going to find out together exactly how that looks here in a couple of minutes.
See how seamless it is.
Yep.
Exactly.
We'll take our break here from Road America in the 69th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints with DriversEye Live. We'll be back in a few moments.
Mazda's been very supportive of racers within the SCCA and all the other grassroots organizations for many, many years. Really, their support for racing and our type of racing is unmatched from any other manufacturer. They've been a great partner for many, many years.
Mazda, hands down, is the best company to work with for sports car racing. Factory support is second to none. It just feels right. You feel connected.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Road America, the National Park of Speed here in beautiful Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, for the 69th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprint. I'm Gregg Ginsberg. This is Brandon Kazmarek. And did I say Brandon? Brendan Kazmarek. Pardon me, Brendan.
You know what? At least you didn't call me Brian.
I did that is coming. If I don't call you Brian, I'll call you Larry. Here, as we have what we're calling Group 2A and 2B. We've got our small bore production cars, E production, F production, H production, also our GT Light racers. They have their 25-minute qualifying session, and as soon as they start coming off the track, we're going to be sending our B-Spec racers out for a 25-minute qualifying session. Why? Because we've got almost 50 cars on track right now. I think actually 51 heading out on track. And we're going to have somewhere just north of 40 B-Spec racers. And as long as Road America is 4 miles long, you know, we didn't want to put out 90-some cars out there, so, or 80-some cars. So we've got the drivers on that 4-mile outlap. They are still coming off the pit lane, and we already have a local caution down at turn 5, where you know, this is early on in the session where we can pick these racers out. The 98 machine went off in the damp weather over at turn 5. He is just now recovered, and I'll get his number here. That's Roy Lopshire in the little red Toyota Tercel GT Light number 98. He's out of Blue Springs, Missouri, and there he is now as he comes out of turn 7, as we've gone back to a green flag over. Oh, no, actually, you know what? Let me apologize to Mr. Lopshire, as we're just getting a correction from the corner workers at turn 5. It was actually the 89 machine, John Dabracki, in his BMW Z3. So sorry, John.
It's going to be a tricky one to call, Greg, whether you're in the production group out now or in the B-Spec group that's upcoming. It's obviously been raining for the last 10 minutes or so, and it looks like it's projected for about another 15 to 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. This new surface at Road America, it doesn't get super wet or reflective until it starts to rain quite hard. It's actually picking up now down here at turn number 3, but there for the last 10 minutes or so, you could have maybe made a case to go out there and try it on slicks.
Yeah.
Or on a dry weather tire at the very least. That may be going the other way. What I was going to say is, especially if you're in the B-Spec group, if it's only going to rain for another 10 to 15 minutes, I don't know that you're going to get a fully wet track.
That it's worth going out on the wet weather tires. Yeah. Although I've heard that these new Goodyear wet weather tires that they've been racing, the drivers that had experience with them, and I think they used them at Sebring to start the year off, were very impressed with those tires. So we'll see there. A couple notables here in the field. We just saw that red and white CRX, GT Light CRX, go through turn 5, and I'm fairly certain that is Jim Dentisi, a multi-time national champion. Interesting story with that car, that red, white, and black CRX. 2 cars behind him is our reigning national champion. That is Graham Fuller in his Toyota Tercel. And Graham Fuller was the previous owner of that Honda CRX. It was a car, one of the original King Motorsports cars, the CRX was, that Dentisi had a hand in building. That car was just repurchased this winter, and I believe after doing some work on the car, it's the first time Dentisi's been behind the wheel. Of course, we have Chris Bovis in another one of those Dentisi-built CRXs. One of them is chassis number 2. One of them is chassis number 8. But great to see Jim back out. A neat little story, Brendan, when I came here to run the runoffs in 2010, the Chicago region had local hot shoes that knew Road America to take the rookies around the course if they'd never raced or been on the course here before. My local hot shoe and my guide around Road America was Jim Dentisi, and showed me a lot, not enough to keep me from finishing just outside the top 10, but there's only so much you can teach me in a short period of time, I guess. But also notable here this weekend, we have our reigning STL national champion, Joe Moser, is running in F production, and very interesting to see Moser not in a Honda CRX. He is in a second-gen Acura Integra here this weekend, racing in F production. As a matter of fact, there he is, that burgundy car coming just out of turn 14, starting its way up the hill. I believe that Moser finished second, and somebody, of course, is going to correct me. It was either E production or it may have been F production at the last Mid-Ohio runoffs back in 2016, where he was driving his Honda Prelude. But nice to see him. We're going to see him a little bit later. In his Super Touring CRX. Oh, and there is one of the 94 Porsche that goes around, and that is a car that I have not seen before. And we'll try and get the number on that here, or we know the number. We know the number. It's a 5-4 that just went around, and we'll get the number here. I keep saying we'll get the number. We'll get the driver name there, but he is now getting that. It was kind of a lazy spin, but I think what we're seeing, Brendan, is that the rain is starting to pick up a little bit here in many places around the course. You are starting to see quite a bit of some pretty big rain trails here. I think we're going to start to see some of those front-wheel drive machines come to the fore. Matter of fact, we were just talking about Joe Moser in that burgundy number 4 Acura Integra. He goes to the top of the leaderboard. He puts in a 252.59. He now lists his hometown as being Dallas, Texas. He lived in Michigan, has raced here for many, many years. That 252.59 currently a second and a half up on any other driver. The next fastest driver, we just saw him come through turn 7 in the light blue number 32 GT Light Mazda RX-7, multi-time national champion Michael Lewis. And then the third fastest driver on track right now, he's your fastest E-production driver, and we were just talking about him as we took a break on track. Tim Schreier, who is racing in his the 1987 E30 BMW. Schreier, interesting story. As a matter of fact, I think the SCCA actually ran an article about him in that BMW at one point. It is the car that he refers to as the pizza bimmer, Brendan, as it was his very first car, got it at age 16, started autocrossing with it, and converted it to an ITS car back in, I think, 2018, and he's been road racing it ever since.
Living the dream there.
That's right.
Take your first car as an adolescent, and you get your few years out of it there until you can upgrade, keep the car, and send it trackside when the time comes. That's pretty cool stuff. Yeah,
he finished 4th at the runoffs in it 2 years ago at Virginia International Raceway, and back here in 2020 finished 5th. Let's take a look here. We'll try and break things down by class. Again, your fastest driver, and let's start off with production. Joe Moser with a 3.5 second advantage on the rest of the F production field right now. Doug Weaver in his Mazda Miata, he's out of Chatham, Ontario, Canada, as he just crosses the start-finish line, is actually now 3.5 seconds back from Moser. Stephen Powers out of Phoenix, Arizona in the number 145 Mazda. He is another 1.9 seconds back from there. And then Mason Workman in the 52 Mazda Miata. He's out of Canal Winchester, Ohio. And Mason is incredibly aggressive in the wet weather. He is currently your 4th fastest F production driver. In E production, it is Tyler Ladd out of Clearwater, Kansas in a BMW Z3. He is your fast driver at 251.9. He's got a 2.5 second advantage over Tim Schreier. And then we've got Bill Miller, who's another 10 seconds back from those two racers. So big differential there between Ladd, Schreier, and the rest of the field. John Brackey is another second back from Miller, now almost 14 seconds off the pole, Brendan.
I think we got a car off in the gravel at the exit, or sorry, the entrance of turn
to 3.
Just in the background there, along the black XPEL banners.
Yeah, he basically blends right into the banners over there.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Looks like maybe either dropped a wheel on entry or locked the brakes up and went straight off before getting it backwards, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks
It's really difficult to tell from this angle.
Yeah, it looks like it's maybe an open top Miata that went. It's got the tail end. He is buried pretty deeply in the gravel trap there. We've got the local caution over turn 3. All right, it sounds like call it come in to for the emergency services teams here to try and get that car extracted. And so we also now have a local.
Waiting for a number is what I was hoping for, but we didn't get one.
And sounds like we might have something over at turn 6.
Or at least a spin.
Yes, we do, and that is
CRX.
Yeah, that may be. We can see that might be the Dentisi machine, and let me verify that Jim Dentisi is behind the wheel there. I'd hate to keep mentioning it if he is not the driver behind the wheel of that car.
Well, you do that, Greg. I want to make a point here about the weather. We don't need to drive this point home because you can see just how difficult these conditions are. Oh, we're sliding straight off at the carousel in the background.
So yeah, wow.
So this is what I was going to say here. This is such a vast track that you can come through 3 minutes prior in completely different conditions to what you're going to get when you come around
It's
the
like
next
racing
time.
at Spa.
It is, right? You have this giant expanse here at the National Park of Speed. You come through once and you think you've got all the grip in the world. You come through the next time and all of a sudden the track is a skating rink. That's exactly it. Looks like, is that an E-Prod Miata in the background?
We've got an E-Prod or an F-Prod Miata
F-Prod,
sitting in the, and we just had one of our H-Prod cars coming through. We can see a lot of machines going off. We saw one of the white VWs come through. That was Chris Shaftsma, who's our reigning national champion in H production, in a new chassis this weekend. All right, and
black flag off.
Yeah, we're going to go to a black flag, which is essentially bringing these racers. They're going to bring them onto the pit lane here while we try and get a handle on what's going here. As we see a lot of these drivers who likely went out on dry weather tires.
Yeah,
Brendan, finding themselves with not an abundance of grip, as we just saw now, as we just had Michael Lewis go into the gravel trap. And Brendan, and we'll run down the current qualifying order here in just a minute, but I'm having some flashbacks to last year. Last year, this was, I think, the very first event that we had at Road America after the track had been repaved, and we had a huge rainstorm here come in on Sunday afternoon that our small bore race was ongoing. The rain just came out of nowhere. All these racers were on dry weather tires, and most of the field, they were spinning like tops around here, and the race got black flagged, stopped and black flagged almost immediately, and then we had probably lightning warnings here that brought the whole track down. But many of these same racers experienced these same conditions a year ago, and I believe we may have actually red flagged the session here.
Yeah, sorry, I snuck that in there while you were talking earlier, but we did go straight to a red.
Yeah, and so in SCCA road racing, a red flag, as opposed to what you see in FIA, where in FIA, a red flag is the equivalent of our black flag, telling racers to return to the pits. A red flag instructs the racers to come to a safe and controlled stop on the track surface, so that essentially emergency services vehicles or other equipment can respond to incidents. And so we'll try and get them back off the track as quickly as possible. And I think, Brendan, that was probably the best decision to make, as we did have emergency services teams out responding to incidents and drivers having lots of control problems because of the weather.
It's not just control problems, Greg. We got to a point there where it was a complete lack of control. And this is a more extreme example of where my head was at when we sent the cars out, 10, 15 minutes ago now. But the thought process is the same. The conditions are going to progress likely in some direction throughout the course of the session. It wasn't very wet when we sent the cars out. It was raining, but the track really wasn't soaked. So what do? Do you select your tire for those early laps, try and go get 2 laps in? Right? Set your quick time thinking, as it gets wetter, I'll pull into the pits. I'm not going to turn a faster time anyway. And you take your chances.
Yeah,
Or you go out on wet tires and say, well, it's going to take a few laps to get up to speed. I think I'm going to be better off trying to set a quicker time as the track gets a little bit damper. And I get a little bit more confident. It's a toss-up.
It's
what
a toss-up,
do you do?
But a lot of these racers have been up on the grid for 15, 20 minutes.
And that's the other problem.
So likely they weren't going to have their crews up there on the grid making tire changes.
It was a kind of a perfect storm of timing, of availability of tires, and of the progression of the conditions. And unfortunately, while we thought, hey, maybe this might not turn into a really heavy rain, all of a sudden, 5 minutes into the session, it started to dump right over there at turn 3 and up at the carousel at 9 and 10. And, you eventually end up in a place where you're just a passenger.
Yeah. And here's the shot that I wanted to see, Brendan, as Jordan switches over so we can see all of the B-Spec racers that are staged on the grid waiting to go out for their qualifying session, and whether we see a lot of action there with maybe some tires being changed. What we are starting to see is that more racers are coming to that grid maybe a little later. I think some of the drivers actually took their cars back to the paddock to get those wet weather tires put on their cars.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do this. While we've got a second, let me go and run down and let everybody know where we are as far as qualifying times. I don't think things have changed in F production. It is still Moser with 3.5 seconds over Doug Weaver, then Mason Workman, then Stephen Powers. David Bednar's in the 47 Mazda. He moves up to 5th fastest in class. If we take a look at E production, it is Tyler Ladd in his BMW Z3. Brendan, he set fastest lap of anyone in the session just before the deluge started. He turned in a 251.9. That made him faster on track than our previous fast driver, Joe Moser. But Tyler Ladd with 2 seconds on Tim Schreier. John Brackey, another 3 seconds back from there. Bill Miller, 7 seconds back from there. And, of course, in SCCA road racing, when these drivers go out tomorrow for their race, they are gridded not by, at least in this group, they are not gridded by class. They are going to be gridded by qualifying time. And so a lot of these E-production drivers, they're going to have a lot of out-of-class cars that they're going to have to contend with early on to get up and compete with other racers in their class. Don Tucker, another 3.3 seconds back. As we look at the top 5 drivers in E-production, 16 seconds separating them. In F production, still Joe Moser, Doug Weaver, Mason Workman, Stephen Powers. In GT Light, Michael Lewis with 9 seconds on Chris Bovis. Another 9 seconds back to Eric Vickerman. And then Graham Fuller is only 0.25 of a second back from Vickerman. In H production, Steve Sargis with only 0.4 of a second on Chris Shaftsma. Another 2 seconds back to Chuck Mathis. Jesse Prather, another multi-time champion, is only 1/10 back from Mathis. All right, let's do this. Let's take a break, Brendan. I think this is probably a good time to stop, as we've got emergency services teams come out, and we can also look and see what our B-Spec racers are going to be doing here. But let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in a few more moments from now. A very damp National Park of Speed for the 69th consecutive SCCA Chicago Region June Sprints. We'll be right back.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for the hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid. Hawk has all your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
As the official fuel partner, Sunoco has been helping the SCCA and their drivers perform at their peak since 2001. Mile after mile, race after race, Sunoco's trusted the fuel over 50 racing bodies, including the SCCA, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. As the largest manufacturer of race fuels, they're passionate about helping drivers and teams take the lead. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRacefuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
Bravo Trailers is the exclusive trailer partner of the SCCA. Owned by longtime SCCA racers, Bravo Trailers work better, load easier, and tow better because we build them with racers in mind. Visit bravotrailers.com to see your new trailer in aluminum or steel.
Get more bang for your buck at summitracing.com. Choose from millions of in-stock parts from over 1,500 name brands. Parts for racing, street performance, trucks, plus tools, accessories, and more. Shop anytime, anywhere with the Summit Racing app.
Mazza Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazza Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazza.com.
If you like what you see today, become part of the action by joining the Sports Car Club of America. Whether you want to drive, flag, organize, officiate, have fun with cars, or meet 65,000 enthusiast friends, SCCA has plenty to feed your motorsports obsession. Ask someone trackside how to get involved or visit scca.com for more information.
Attention in the paddock. Attention in the paddock. Would driver the number 60 H production Honda CRX Vesa Silgren please see the stewards in impound? Vesa Silgren, driver the number 60 H production Honda, please see the stewards in impound. And we're back here at now an incredibly damp WeatherTech, rather damp National Park Speed Road America for the 69th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago region June sprints. Gregg Ginsberg, Brendan Kesmerick. We're dry. A number of the racers out on track right now under these red flag conditions. Brendan, I would suspect not so dry.
Yeah, could use some of those fine WeatherTech mats at the moment.
Yes.
It tends to result in a little bit of mud off track. If you're out trackside in some of the campgrounds or spectator areas, obviously we ask that you be intelligent about your driving in those areas. If you find it necessary to traverse the grass there, we'd like to keep the National Park of Speed looking like a national park. And certainly here at the exit of the kink in the run down through is that the Kettle Marine Sweep? Is that what they call it?
The Kettle Bottoms is
Kettle
what's
Bottoms,
heading down
thank you.
to Canada Corner.
Yeah, down to turn 12. The national parkest of views here at Road America. One of my favorite parts of the track, or it would be if it had better cell service and we could get more cameras back there. So we're just coming up to the end of the first session here officially. 30 seconds left on the clock. The idea is that Group 2A, which is all of the production cars and the GTLs, will end their session. And then the B-Spec cars would have been released from pit out seamlessly as soon as the checkered flag fell. Wow. The problem is that's not the situation we find ourselves in with the red flag still ongoing. My assumption, and this is pure assumption, is that this session will be checkered as soon as the cars are released from And there is the checkered flag per race hero, so that answers that question. So we've gone from red, well, we're still red, but now they've ended the session as well. The idea is that once these cars are released back to the pit lane, the B-Spec cars will be the next to go out.
Correct.
Obviously, the seamless concept is out the window. We need to get all of our safety vehicles home. All of our cars that were being recovered need to return to the paddock as well before we send these B-Spec cars out. Now, we have this extra camera here with thanks to Gregg Ginsberg. This is camera number 13 for the weekend.
That means nobody call or text me because I won't get it.
Yeah, this is kind of our start-finish cam for the races on Saturday, Sunday, but it also provides an excellent view of the false grid here at Road America and the field of 40-ish B-Specs. And what we were just discussing during the previous session, Greg, there is you've had a tire choice to make.
Yeah.
And while it was necessary for you to be on the grid 25 minutes ago, because that's how this seamless concept was set up, it may have been the right move for some of these drivers, either to affix wet tires to the cars there on the grid or to take it back to the paddock and change tires.
Right.
And now there's no question as to what the correct tire option is. You've got to be on the damp weather tires.
Yeah, so much standing water. And again, as Brendan, as we were wrapping things up earlier, I mentioned that this group had been in a very similar situation during their race last year when the track got very damp, and it was right after the track had been repaved, and it was incredibly slick. I mean, obviously, we're still seeing that issue here this weekend. But yeah, there's obviously no question as to what type of tire these drivers should be running. There is quite a bit of standing water on the track at this point. And when the sun is out, it dries pretty quickly. We had a nice rain shower this morning, and the track had started to dry out. We started to see dry lines within about 10 or 15 minutes, even at 70 degrees ambient air temperature. But there's quite a bit, and you can even see from some of these shots the dark clouds that still hang over this beautiful national park of speed.
Yeah, challenging weather weekend, at least today and tomorrow here, Greg. This isn't the first shower. It won't be the last.
I was just noticing, Brendan. Jordan, can we go back to the previous shot that we were just at? I think it was turn 1. And if you look closely at this shot, yes, you see the steam. And I just saw it at the other shot that we were looking at. But, we're talking about how this track dries out very quickly. And there it is. And we've just gotten word from race control that the red flag condition is now being withdrawn. So we're going to see all of our racers, our production and GT Light racers, coming up the hill very slowly, I would presume, to complete the session here, and we can see them starting to maybe get underway. For a lot of these race cars, and a lot of them don't have cooling fans, Brendan, even in the cool weather, they needed to shut those cars down for pretty obvious reasons, so it's taken a couple seconds for them to get back up and running. There's Greg Gopper, local racer here from Hubertus, Wisconsin, national champion in his own right, winning here in a wet race. A rain-soaked race. He just had a magical race, and I think it was, I'll have to go back and check, but I think it was like 2011, 2012. Definitely, if we have a damp race tomorrow, he is somebody to watch. All right, and you see, looks like still have some vehicles there going down the kettle bottoms. Still trying to get the engines refired and ready to go.
5 just called in on the flag net with multiple flags, and that is perfectly reflective of the situation at the moment. We're checkered at various points around the course. We're black flag all with cars returning to the pit lane. We're a full course yellow to ensure that nobody passes and cars are fully under control.
And the exit here sign at turn 5 so that our drivers will come right past us. There is an exit road just off to our right. Mason Workman in his Mazda Miata, Tim Schreier, they will, Tim's going to take the long way around.
Yeah.
And there's Chris Bovis in that 78 Honda CRX, second fastest driver in GT Light.
Yeah.
All right, well, apparently exit here doesn't mean what it used to mean there, Brendan.
Yeah, it could do with some pointing here, I think, at turn 5 to help assist. This is, a very it's been a tricky situation here. We kind of knew not this specific scenario was coming, but these challenges with weather, transitions from track into a very damp circuit and back out into a drying track. You can already see just from cars having moved back to the pit lane and having a few safety trucks. Now that the rain has basically stopped, a lot of that standing water
is
moved
getting
off
evacuated.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It happens really quickly around, especially with this new surface that was installed at the end of 2022.
Yep. Oh, it sounds like we might. Okay. Yeah, I was say over at the turn 10, which is the exit of the carousel. We do still have some emergency services teams deployed there, trying as drivers went into the gravel and came back out on track. This shot right here, matter of fact, you can see that the waving yellow flag over there. As drivers went deep and went straight off, and even in the dry, there's a tendency for cars to understeer greatly through that section. Of course, we've got workers trying to get all the gravel back off of the track surface.
Yeah. It's tricky in the dry. You're right. It's even trickier in the wet. The road is falling away from you there through the carousel. So as that road drops away, you're losing grip. On top of that, it's an absolute skating rink. You're on the limit of adhesion all the way through. And if you find yourself on a heavily rubbered racing line, you're liable to slide wide.
Right off,
or if you're out wide off the rubbered racing line, you're inches away from the grass and the gravel.
Doesn't matter where you are
so
out
you're
there.
you're in trouble kind of no matter what your options are.
The last
there.
third of that complex.
And just as we saw, close to a dozen cars ended up in the grass and gravel out there at various points. So,
all right. Well, we do have our B-Spec racers. They are still there waiting for our production cars and GT Light cars to head back to the paddock. Obviously have to wait for that pit lane to clear before we can send them out.
Yeah, why don't we do this, Greg? Let's take another quick break here.
Okay.
We have a between session break we need to accomplish here, which is
Michael
kind of where
Collins
we find
is not gonna
ourselves
like
at
that.
the moment. We're going to take our break here on DriversEye Live between sessions, grab a quick swig of water, and when we're ready to release the B-Spec cars, we will do that for Group 2B and get our second production qualifying session here underway in a few moments' time. This is the 69th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. We are DriversEye Live, and we'll be back here in a few moments' time from the National Park of Speed.
My customer experience with Mazda has been absolutely fantastic.
I'm probably not the richest person out here, and they're extremely reasonably priced, and you can buy parts easily, and it's a class that fits both what I want from a racing standpoint and what I can afford.
We got into Mazdas largely just because it's a fantastic platform, and Mazda Motorsports has some of the best support for the grassroots racer in parts and technical advice and everything else, so they make it easy for us to run these cars.
Attention in the paddock. Attention in the paddock. We've just gotten word from race control that the remainder of our qualifying sessions today will be 20 minutes in length. Again, for everybody here yet to go out for qualifying today, our remaining qualifying sessions this afternoon are now scheduled for 20 minutes. If we get any additional updates, we will let you know. All right, everybody, welcome back. After a little bit of a rain delay, we are here once again at the National Park Speed Road America for the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. In case you can't remember, because it's been so long, I'm Gregg Ginsberg. That's Brendan Kazmarek. And we have heading out on track now, Brendan, somewhere north of 40 of our B-Spec race cars and racers. These are for our lower horsepower. I don't want to call them the grocery getters, but I guess I just did. But fairly stock cars. Most of these race cars will have a very similar suspension package underneath them with different approved shock and spring packages, but more or less stock as the drivetrain as the drivetrain comes off the showroom floor. And all front-wheel drive, short wheelbase, usually when you're at full speed, easy to draft. And as we have received word from our workers that were on the grid, most, if not all of these racers, oddly enough, are on wet weather tires.
Yeah, if we're going to have a group that's well-suited to this type of weather condition, Greg, I think this is probably the one. Short wheelbase doesn't help a ton, but the front-wheel drive, lower horsepower definitely does.
Yes.
And at the very least, if you do find yourself off track headed towards the wall, you'll hit it very slowly.
Yes.
So a little bit of a saving grace there. But everybody knows that these are the conditions that have been coming now, right? This heavy rain now isn't really a surprise. They've been sitting out in it for...
There we go.
Oh, man. What a recovery.
And Chris Taylor almost saw his second rental car of the weekend go by the wayside. And I think at this point it would be safe to say, because that was a very good friend of mine, that was Rob Miles, better known as Wrecker Boy.
Not today.
Not today.
Yeah.
He
heard that voice in the back of his mind saying Wrecker Boy. He said, nope, that's not happening.
Well, Wrecker Boy got that name because he drove the Wrecker for Eastern Motor Racing Association for a number of years. He's out of Spotswood, New Jersey, renting that car from Chris Taylor Racing Services this weekend. Typically races in Spec Miata on the East Coast. There he goes. He got that car back underway. So he and Wrecker Boy Rob was, I believe, fourth fastest of our B-Spec racers earlier today in practice. So he came out of the gate pretty quick. And is he going to go to the pit lane? No, I thought he was going to break for the pit lane.
Commit to the bit here. You've got some temperatures in the temperature in the tires now. Things are coming up to pressure. You spike the front temps there a little bit. Spike the rear temps a little bit probably as well. In that number 78. And off we go.
All right, so fastest driver in practice this morning. And Brendan, I'll let you correct my pronunciation if you like. He is in the four-door Toyota Yaris. Is that right?
That's right.
That was close.
We've made it 39 rounds with listening to you say
Yaris.
Yep.
Yaris.
Had to correct it eventually.
Because I'm from New York. That's why I say it. But John Phillips out of Sealy, Texas, he's your 2019 national champion. He's your fastest driver in practice today. Then David Doherty in his Mazda 2, second fastest. He's driving the number 0 car. He is now out of Greenfield, Indiana. Joe McClugan, also in a Mazda 2. Third fastest, Josh Schmidt in his Chevy Sonic. Josh, who got his first win on the Super Tour earlier this year at Road Atlanta, and has built the majority of the cages, I think, that get used for these B-Spec machines. Babyface Fabrications, there's your free plug this weekend, Josh. He was fourth fastest. Stephanie Anderson, who now calls Texas home, but she is from, I think, Racine, Wisconsin, if I remember correctly. In the number 138 machine. Interesting story with that Mazda 2 that was actually built in the paddock at the runoffs at VIR in 2022 by X Factor Racing. Then it was Rob Wrecker Boy Miles, and then Chris Taylor driving the number 92 machine. Chris might have actually seen Wrecker Boy spin the car right in front of him going into the gate that time. So that's your top 7. Ken Carter Chris Doherty, that is David Doherty's son, and Steve Pounds rounding out the top 10 there in practice this morning. And again, these are 20-minute qualifying sessions. Sounds like car might have gone off over, I thought we might have had a car go off going into Speedville. Gosh knows you don't want to go off track going into Speedville.
I mean, if there's a place you're going to go off track, Speedville is the place.
Well, for now, since we don't have a
laws.
camera, there's no laws and there's no camera currently. So if you're going to do it, that's the place.
Need to get a sense of how much time is left here. We're doing manual timers this weekend, which is something I haven't had to do all season long. Hope to manage that and commentary at the same time. Right? Yeah, just give me a quick
All right, well, I'll let you go there. We've got one lap in the books. Now, I should mention that lap was the out lap, so our drivers came across the start-finish line while they were on the pit lane. Congratulations, 2020 national champion in B-Spec, Riley Salyer. You are our out lap champion. He was a second and a half faster than anybody else. But we've got and there's contact. That is the number 134 machine. That is another one of those Chris Taylor machines that went off right in front of our eyes.
Wow! And, carried right on, Greg.
Yeah, got the car back underway. I'll try and get the number here in just a moment. Nobody tell Chris Taylor that car went off. That was, oh my gosh,
the 134.
Oh yeah, the
Brian
134. Heitman. Yep, there you go. And we got the car recovered, and he is back on his way.
It was a fairly big hit there, but it was also a pretty square hit. So, wonder if it was just kind of a glancing blow there against the
concrete there on the
exit. It's a safer barrier, Greg.
Is it really? It's not really.
No, it's a fully fledged safer barrier.
Yeah, you can see it right there. And well, I mean, given the types of race cars that we have here many times during the year, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Joseph Newgarden absolutely pounded that safer barrier here a couple of weeks ago in conditions that were, they weren't this, but they were drying out of this, and just dropped a wheel on the wet curb on driver's left going into that corner at top speed in an Indy car. It was a passenger basically immediately. That wasn't the case there for Brian Heitman. But just as easy to get the car backwards, especially in these front-wheel drive cars. The traction is very good, especially considering the lower horsepower figure out of all of these cars. The difficulty with front-wheel drive cars in the rain becomes the lift-off oversteer.
Yes.
And because the kink is such a high-speed corner with cars that don't already have a huge top speed number, it's that breathe of the throttle on the way in, and if you don't have that car perfectly squared up going into the corner when you do that,
the rear end keeps rotating.
Yep, it's just going to snap around on you. I wonder if that's what happened.
All right, so we've got the majority of the field now completing their very first flying lap, and only 35 cars going out for qualifying here in the damp. Stuart Black in his Chevy Sonic is out of Greensboro, North Carolina. He just now jumps to the top of the leaderboard with a time of 3:10.733. That's 1.1 seconds clear of our 2020 national champion Riley Salyer in a Mazda 2. David Doherty currently third fastest, another 5 seconds back from there. And then Rob Bakarczyk, Rob driving Honda Fit, and that Honda with a bit of provenance was a former Pirelli TCB world champion. And we'll see here how things start to play out as these drivers are definitely starting to pick up a little bit of speed. Certainly, and it was probably a good thing, Brendan, that the rain right before they came out, and it looks like the rain has subsided once again. But with that extra rain coming down, I think it probably, if anything, made it a little bit better for these Goodyear wet weather tires. A little bit easier for them to evacuate the water than if it had been kind of that, we had seen right as we had gone to break where the track had that sheen of water on it, but not a ton of standing water. These tires are going to work much better in these conditions here, as we just had another driver run a little wide. And the 78 machine has now gone off. That is over at Canada Corner.
Pick that up on the turn 13 camera, possibly. The car has since continued, so it's no problem.
Yeah, the 78, that was wrecker boy Rob Miles. And here he comes now, the lead car in this pack in that white with blue Mazda 2. I was a little bit surprised, Brendan, in the dry here today to see that so many of the cars that were very quick in practice were Mazda 2s. That in past years, certainly when we were here for the runoffs back in 2020, but in general, the Mazda 2s, they are considered to be one of the better handling chassis in the class, but don't necessarily have the straight line speed. They have to carry a lot of speed off the corners, but they don't seem to top out nearly as quickly, or they don't top out with as high a speed as, say, the Chevy Sonics, which have the biggest displacement in the class. They are at 1.8 liters, where every other car is at primarily 1.6. I think some of them are at 1.5 liters. But also those four-door Toyota Yaris's as well. And with the Yaris, a lot of racers like John Phillips had gone to that chassis and ran that chassis here back in 2020 because they thought it was maybe a little bit more aerodynamic than some of the hatchback cars.
Yeah, interestingly, I think we tend to see the minis with the highest top speed out of this group. Certainly 3 weeks ago at Watkins Glen, that was the case. The coupe, Mini Cooper coupe had by far the highest top speed and led the pack for the most part throughout the race. And then the Mini Cooper, the original shape, not original, but you understand what I mean. The primary shape for that car was able to make the move at the end of the race. I think was it Frank Schwartz? It was
Frank Schwartz in the Mini Cooper, and we'll get Frank Schwartz is driving the number 16 car. And interesting, actually, that Schwartz is not in a Mini Cooper.
Okay.
He is in a Mini Clubman, the station wagon. He's in the station wagon version. There he is right now, the longer wheelbase one. We just saw him come through turn 7 in that burgundy. For those of you that are that love your German chemicals and love your German audio cassettes, it's the BASF liveried car.
Very good.
Yes, and he was up against Rich Roman, who's our reigning national champion, who was in a Mini Coupe at Watkins Glen. The Coupe very difficult to draft off of, we thought, but Schwartz made a heck of a run up through the S's on the very last lap to get around Roman and take the win in the feature race. I was talking to Frank yesterday when it was still dry, and he mentioned that this is the 4th race weekend that he is, well, it doesn't matter now because he's on the wet weather tires. This was going to be the 4th race weekend that he had run the dry weather Goodyear tires on his car. And of course, notable that the last time they were on the car in the dry, he took a win at the Glen. And he had some ignition issues, actually not ignition issues, but battery issues during the practice session earlier. It's been a while. That car, apparently the negative battery terminal was not very well connected. All right, let's take a quick look here as we are now. We've only got about 5 minutes left of the session.
Before we take a quick look, why don't we take a quick break?
Let me make a call to the grid also. Somebody, meaning me, hasn't been watching the clock. First call to the grid for race group number 3. Please head to the grid. That is Spec Miata. Spec Miata racers, if you haven't already started heading to the grid, please do. Spec Miata racers, please head to the grid. All right, this is going to really upset our good friend Mike Collins, but we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have the rest of qualifying here on B-Spec from the National Park Speed Road America for the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprint. We'll be right back.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. At Hoosier, we know that our success is dependent on how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Racing Tire dealer near you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly tires designed for champions.
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, and now brakes and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts on both street and track. As official tire retailer of SCCA since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trial Nationals, and National Tour and Track Night in America. Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
As the official fuel partner, Sunoco has been helping the SCCA and their drivers perform at their peak since 2001. Mile after mile, race after race, Sunoco has trusted the fuel over 50 racing bodies, including the SCCA, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. As the largest manufacturer of race fuels, they're passionate about helping drivers and teams take the lead. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRacefuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS. Get more bang for your buck at SummitRacing.com. Choose from millions of in-stock parts from over 1,500 name brands, parts for racing, street performance, trucks, plus tools, accessories, and more. Shop anytime, anywhere with the Summit Racing app.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for SCCA and provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. Hagerty also provides guaranteed value coverage and even has protection for your trailer. Did you know that SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty? Hagerty, let's drive together. Learn more at Hagerty.com.
Did you know that SCCA members save $20 on every Track Night in America they sign up for? That's right. Track Night in America, driven by Tire Rack, now hosting 150 events at more than 30 tracks across the country, is the easiest and most affordable way to get you and your friends on track in your street cars all season long. Visit TrackNightInAmerica.com to learn more and get yourself on track.
Tension in the paddock, second call to the grid for race group number 3, Spec Miata. Please head to the grid. Spec Miata racers, please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. Also, with the following drivers, please report to the race director in tech. Driver the number 98 F6 car, that's Glenn Tilke. Driver of the number 49 Formula F, John Luxon. And driver of the number 38 Formula 6, Steve Jondal. Please report to the race director in tech. Glenn Tilke, driver of the number 98 Formula 6, please report. The number 49 Formula F, John Luxon, and the driver of number 38 Formula 6, Steve Jondal, please see the race director in tech.
So Greg here with under 2 minutes remaining, now down to about 1:25. Anybody who hasn't started a lap by this point and isn't probably around turn 6 is not likely going to be able to complete the lap that they're on, right? Because the checkered flag comes out at turn 12, 13, and 14, and you're required to pit on that lap. You don't actually get to the finish line to complete the lap that's in progress. So this will be functionally an in-lap now for anybody that's crossing start-finish at this time. The disappointing aspect to that is we've actually got sunshine here on the front straightaway for the first time in about 45 minutes or so. And with that is going to come a very rapid drying of this new surface. Yes. Well, I say new, it's a year and a half old now, but the newer surface here at Road America. And you would want to get in as many laps and or be the last driver out on track completing laps, because it's only going to get quicker from here on out. And with our Group 3 Spec Miata coming out, the name of the game from here on out for at least the next hour or two is going to be just get the laps
in. Exactly.
Yep, get the track time in, dry it out, and be the last one on track, setting a quick time, because by all accounts it should, and you see this in Formula 1 a lot, it should theoretically be the quick time.
Oh, and I think that might have been Matt Wolf in the 71 machine we just saw pull over to the side in his Mazda 2. His checkered flag is now being displayed, and so this is the last, for many of these racers, the last lap of the session, and a number of drivers coming up the hill and setting fast lap times and running. We had been seeing, as this track was drying out a little bit, these wet weather tires getting better and better as drivers setting their fastest laps in the last couple. At the moment, David Doherty is your provisional pole sitter with an 82 thousandths of a second advantage over Riley Salyer. Stuart Black, third fastest, another 6/10 back from there. Great run by new daddy Eric Yeagle. Eric out of, oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, Eric Yeagle, who just crosses the start-finish line. I was going to say that he was fourth fastest. He turns in a flyer here, Brendan. He is going to start on the outside of the front row tomorrow. He was only 8/1000ths of a second off of our multi-time national champion, David Doherty. I think other than having a brand new son delivered earlier this year, that's probably the next best thing that could happen. Salyer drops back to third. Stuart Black, Andrew Jansen in his Honda Fit, fifth fastest. Great run for Chris Doherty, who's now in his third year of road racing. He is sixth fastest. Ricky Holmstrom, Matt Wolf, who just a moment ago, Matt Wolf was sitting fifth fastest. It looks like he'll end up the session eighth. Connor Kelleher out of Angleton, Texas, in his Mini Cooper ninth. And here's a great story, 10th fastest. Bill Collins. Collins out of, Bill Collins, who was out of St. Paul, Minnesota. I first got to know Bill when I started calling the Super Tour back in 2017, when he raced in a T2 Chevy Corvette. Was the 2017 and 2018 Super Tour champion in T2. He has now moved over to B-Spec. Started racing back in the late 60s. Actually raced a Javelin in the 1972 Trans Am Series shared a car with Mark Donahue. So he's got a heck of a history, and he's currently 10th fastest in B-Spec. All right.
Real quick,
Sure.
Greg, before you go, important change at the top. Stuart Black is actually going to start your race on pole.
Oh my
tomorrow.
gosh.
As we were running down the top 10 there.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That number 40 of Stuart Black put in an absolute flyer, almost 3/4 of a second quicker than David Daugherty, and the number 0. 3:08.109 is your new pole time, and that's exactly what I was just saying 2 or 3 minutes ago. You want to be one of the last cars on track.
Yes.
If you look on Race Hero, green times all up and down the top 20, and that big purple time from Stuart Black up at the top. We're going to see this all the way through the next Spec Miata session for sure, possibly also through the Spec Racer Ford session in Group 4. You do not want to miss these next two qualifying.
Absolutely not. So that's going to move Yeagle now back to the second row. Salyer, the last time we ran the runoffs here, he was your national champion. It'll move him in the fourth. All right, let's make a final call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock. Final call to the grid for race group number 3, Spec Miata. Please head to the grid. Spec Miata racers, please head to the grid. And we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with some Spec Miata qualifying here from the National Park of Speed and the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. We'll be right back.
My name is Joshua Smith, Business Development Manager for Mazda Motorsports. We're happy to be supporting the SCCA and Mazda racers here. So our team support program offers a couple of tiers of support, parts support, technical support. All of this is done through our MazdaMotorsports.com parts store website. It's basically like signing up for an Amazon account. Simple information, prove that you're a racer. It gets you access to our 800 hotline that you can call and speak to one of our parts representatives 5 days a week.
right side's got a drier line than the left side.
Welcome back, everybody, to the National Park of Speed. It's Road America. It's the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprints, or if you're interested in it, it's the 19th and 20th rounds of the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I forgot who I am. I'm Gregg Ginsberg. Brendan Kesmerick is here. By the way, Brian Bielanski will be joining us tomorrow for all of our race coverage. And we are now ready for a very damp Spec Miata qualifying session, Brendan. And we've just gotten word that we are finally under flood warning here.
Well, flood watch.
Flood watch.
Yeah, aerial flood watch.
Does that mean aerial flood watch? Does that mean it floods?
Top to bottom.
Okay.
From the bottom. From
the bottom up.
Down.
Okay.
Top down. Yeah. I'm processing this in my head. I hadn't really planned on flushing the joke out by the time we started it, but we were way too deep at that point.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyway, Greg, this is going to be
these are the things I think about.
This is going to be. I'm proud of you. This is going to be a really interesting beginning and middle part of the session here, Greg. there is more rain on the way.
Right.
It's to our south and west now. Depending on your weather app here, it's anywhere between
there it is
6 and 12 minutes out. And as we know this track dries so rapidly, it's also going to get damp very rapidly.
Indeed.
So the move here is going to be to get this outlap completed, put in 1, maybe 2 flyers before the rain starts to fall again, and then hope that the grip stays in the track as the session wears on.
Yeah, indeed. And we saw at the end of the last session where the B-Spec racers were definitely finding speed on their last 2 flying laps or so as the track was starting to come to them. And we could see, look at these they're not dry lines, but obviously a lot less standing water here. It depends on whether or not drivers go 4 wide through the kink or not.
Well, yeah, see, that's the problem. The standing water is there offline on the outside of the kink. And once you're out there, man, it is really tough to get the front wheels to grip again.
Yeah, and if you make it on track, how much mud you pull back on with you.
Well, fortunately, whatever the number of that car was able to stay to driver's left until
long enough
exit of the racing
line moves back over to driver's right. Exactly. Yeah, which was very good. So we've got our racers on their out lap right now. Again, these are 20-minute qualifying sessions. And we are going to be running 3 more sessions today. Next up is going to be Spec Racer 4 Gen 3. We're then going to have our some of our open wheel racers, Formula Atlantic, Continental, and Formula X. And then we're going to be rounding out the afternoon with the ground pounders here, the GT cars, the American sedan cars, the Touring 1 cars as well. Our coverage tomorrow morning is going to pick up right around 8 a.m. And we are going to finish up qualifying tomorrow morning. And then, again, our 25-minute races. We should be going racing somewhere just shy of 10 a.m. That's Central Time tomorrow. So when I say 8 a.m., all those times are Central because I can't do the math between Central Time and Eastern Time. And, yes, I know it's only an hour. But look at this, Brendan. His cars are getting so loose as they're trying to find and carry as much speed out of turn number 1. Getting a lot of slip angle there on the exit, but again, this is one of those portions of the track where you've got a lot of runoff room to gather the car back up.
Yeah, it's tricky stuff here. It's not just obviously the dampness on and off the racing line, but you still need the draft to some degree, right? You still need that assistance of the car in front to punch a hole in the air and help your top speed on these really long Road America straights. Just because it's wet doesn't mean that goes away.
Right.
These braking zones get a lot tougher, and obviously you've got to be a lot more careful tucked up behind somebody. It's such a complex situation to process behind the wheel of one of these Spec Miatas in these specific conditions.
Indeed. All right, so this morning in practice, again, weather conditions and track conditions totally different than what we're seeing right now. It was Bob Stretch out of Arlington, Texas. He had a qualifying time of 2:42.6. That's only 30 seconds off of where we are right now. Brett Kowalski out of Las Cruces, New Mexico, second fastest driver with a 2:42.755, so just about a tenth off. Danny Stain, about another 400 back from there. Nick Bruni, one of our reigning national co-champions, along with Preston Pardis, was 4th fastest. Chris Haldeman was 5th fastest. Good to see here. Here's a big, I don't want to say it's a big surprise because he's been very strong in the Southeast and on the East Coast. Bobby Gossett out of Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I've gotten a chance to watch him. We saw him at Virginia International Raceway on the Super Tour. I've seen him at both regional races and also majors at Carolina Motorsports Park. He was in the dry 6th fastest in a practice this morning at a 2:42.9, only 0.3 off of the fastest drivers. And then Robbie Hines and Jim Drago, 7th and 8th fastest. Robbie Hines finished 3rd at the runoffs here back in 2020. Jim Drago has won a national championship here as a 2-time national champion in Spec Miata.
It is lovely to have the heavy hitters back in the Spec Miata field. Quick off and on there at the exit of turn number 14. We had a couple of races there where we got a smattering, I would say, of the names that everybody sees in the the top 10 of the runoffs. Back at Watkins Glen, we had even fewer than that, I think. Still phenomenal racing.
Phenomenal. We had great runs by Elvin Goulart, who is here this weekend with his son. He and his son Ethan just came off of podium finishes, and I think that's Elvin and Ethan nose to tail.
Yep.
That's actually, the third car in that line, that's Elvin Goulart, who's our 2012 national champion. He's also a former F6 national, then an F5 national champion. But he and his son were running a regional race at Lime Rock Park last weekend. Ethan, who is now all of, I think, 15 years old, beat Dad both days. Dad finished second, and we saw them start side by side on the fourth row at the runoffs last year at VIR.
Spoke to Ethan back at Homestead. Earlier this year. Part of our preseason coverage that kicked off the U.S. Majors Tour for this season.
And I think just saw Ethan working with a little bit further.
A little wide.
That's the 44 machine with a little bit of a wiggle there. That is Alex Bertignoli out of Lakewood, Illinois. I couldn't tell if he might have gotten a little tap from behind.
Yeah, it's either that or dropped a couple of wheels on the painted curb there on the outside, and it really upsets the car if you do that. Not obviously so much in the dry, but in the wet.
But we're starting to see here as we watch. This is as racers come underneath the Corvette bridge, go into turn 6, and then come over to turn 7. You can. I was just going to say you can see how much more grip there is now coming through turn 6. As we just now had 2 cars run wide coming out of turn 6. Obviously,
look at all that grip, Greg.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, there wasn't as much grip there as those 2 drivers thought there was. All right, as we're just about halfway through this qualifying session. Fastest drivers on track right now, Sean Varwig, who is out of Illinois. He's out of Lake Zurich, Illinois. He is currently your fastest driver on track, and with a time of 3:02 flat. Travis Wiley at a 3:02.2. Tyler Brown, one of the sneaky moose guys. He's out of Muskego, Wisconsin. He is driving the 07 car. He's third fastest. Michael Carter, great to see Michael back out here. I say that every time I see Michael Carter run here in the Super Tour. He's out. He is out of Savannah, Georgia, currently 5th fastest. Justin Casey, Ethan Ayers, Ethan Jacobs, and then Bobby Costa. And actually now going to the top of the leaderboard, Danny Stain. Well,
Tyler Brown.
Tyler Brown. There you go, out of Muskego, goes to the top of the leaderboard. It was just after Danny Stain had gone to the top with Nick Rooney right behind him. Travis Wiley, and I think Brown and Wiley are working together right now. They came across the stripe pretty close proximity. They are separated by about 0.15 of a second. Let me make a call to the grid for the next group, and we'll take a quick break. Attention in the paddock. First call to the grid for race group number 4. That is Spec Racer Ford Gen 3. Please head to the grid. Spec Racer Ford Gen 3 racers, please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. And we're going to take that break. We'll be back here in just a few moments from Road America and the 2024 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for that hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER1 brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid, Hawk has all of your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, and now brakes and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts on both street and track. As official tire retailer of SCCA since 1995, and sponsor of the Runoffs Polo Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trial Nationals, and National Tour and Track Night in America. Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
As the official fuel partner, Sunoco has been helping the SCCA and their drivers perform at their peak since 2001. Mile after mile, race after race, Sunoco's trusted the fuel over 50 racing bodies, including the SCCA, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. As the largest manufacturer of race fuels, they're passionate about helping drivers and teams take the lead. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRaceFuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
Get more bang for your buck at SummitRacing.com. Choose from millions of in-stock parts from over 1,500 name brands. Parts for racing, street performance, trucks, plus tools, accessories, and more. Shop anytime, anywhere with the Summit Racing app.
Mazza Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazza Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazza.com.
It's the 2024 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, the premier amateur road racing series bringing together top SCCA road racers from around the country. The Hoosier Super Tour visits some of the greatest tracks in North America, showcasing each of our 28 car classes. From production to GT cars, prototype to Formula cars, the Hoosier SCCA Super Tour packs a ton of wheel-to-wheel racing action into every event.
And welcome back, everybody, to Road America and the 2024 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. It is the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. And Brendan, just as we anticipated, there is the rain. And just as we went to break, we really started to see some drivers start to push the levels of grip. And we started to see some fast laps come in. As a matter of fact, we're still seeing fast laps come across the leaderboard with the damp weather. I think as drivers were finding a lot of speed on the front half of the track, and now the rain is starting to come down. Oh, here, come to me, come to Papa. Oh, nope. Oh, we've got a number of drivers off
163.
Yeah, there's the 163 car.
Threaded the needle through the apex there.
Yeah, over at 5, and then went around. But we had for a brief period, okay, we had for a brief period Nick Rooney go to the top of the leaderboard with a time of 2:56.7, but then Ethan Ayers out of Weatherby Lake, Missouri, went to the top of the leaderboard after we started to see all this rain come down. Brendan, he puts in a 2:56.7. That's a whole 34 1,000ths of a second advantage over Nick Rooney. Tyler Brown, 3 1,000ths back from there. And then Sean Varwig about a half second with Brett Kowalski. That's your top 5. Danny Stain, who early on was at the top of the leaderboard, he now falls to 6th fastest. He is 87 hundredths back from our provisional pole sitter, Ethan Ayers. And we are starting to see more drivers go and, definitely have some issues out here. Interesting, though, as we saw all those racers spin over turn 5, there was still brake lockup that we were seeing there. We were seeing a lot of white smoke as drivers were locking things up. There is definitely still a dry-ish line here.
Yeah, I mean, this surface, as we go 4 off there at the exit of the kink as well. Yeah, we're headed towards the concrete, gets kind of woed up there.
Watch out for that tree.
And I think we had a good recovery at the exit of the kink as well. There was a car that was headed 4 off up at turn 11.
Yep.
And well recovered. The track here, it tends to hold its state for a while.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the fairly rapid improvement of the surface over the course of the session, to the tune of 2, almost 3 seconds a lap, every time these cars came back through start-finish, maybe means we're not going to see that big drop-off in pace as the rain begins to fall. But when it does start to pick up, I think it'll just come out of the track all at once. That is the 141.
That is Jacob Gerke. He is out of Jupiter, Florida. And this is the second call we've heard recently. He had gone off over at Canada Corner just as we go on the break. 17 years old, multiple podiums in the Florida Rock Cup and the X30 karting championships. He's been racing now for, I think, this is his very first year road racing. He's been karting for 5 years. Looks like he has gotten back underway. Gerke is currently, where is he now in the order? As we have, we were talking about 40 cars in B-Spec earlier. 70 drivers here in Spec. This might be also another reason why there's a dry line. We've got 70 racers on track currently, and Gerke currently sitting, unfortunately for him, 64th out of those 70. And now...
Oh, spinner here at 5. That's 41.
The 41 machine going around. And that is that's Miles Gertz that has just gone around. So Gerke, Gertz, have the same thing. I think I have some information on Miles, although he probably doesn't want me to give any information on him right now. And okay. Attention in the paddock. Attention in the paddock. There is currently a Toyota minivan that is blocking the impound area. If this is your black Toyota minivan and it is Wisconsin license plates AXG 1412, we ask you that you please move your vehicle or it will be towed. Again, driver black Toyota minivan, Wisconsin license plates AXG 1412. Please move your vehicle or you may not find it. It may be moved. All right, so Miles Gertz, who we saw a little bit earlier, two-time SCCA Rallycross national champion, Brandon. Didn't help him, I guess no dirt, and so, didn't have any dirt build up on the side of the tires, couldn't keep the car on track there. And he says he made the podium last month, both majors races at Blackhawk Farms, taking a win during one of those two races. And we'll see how things play out. Again, that one lap, just as the rain was starting to come down, certainly causing some issues for him. Tyler Brown is still your fastest driver on track. He just reset fast lap once again here, Brendan. He now has a 22 1,000ths of a second advantage over Ethan Ayers, who has a 19 1,000ths of a second advantage over Ethan Jacobs. And then we've got Nick Bruni, who's another 15 1,000ths back from there. Sean Varwig, 65 1,000ths of a second back from Nick Bruni. Top 5 drivers separated by 46 hundredths of a second.
Listen, just because you get a little bit of rain in the Spec Miatas doesn't mean you take the Spec Miatas out of the Spec Miatas.
That's right.
The timing is still going to look exactly the same, albeit a little bit slower. The margins are just going to be the same. The competition is going to be just as fierce. It's a little bit less grip in the track, and the lap times are a little bit slower. This is what we love about Spec Miata.
All right, checkered flag is being displayed, and just as we are finishing that up, Ethan Ayers goes to provisional pole with a 256.37. 3/10 up on the rest of the field.
Yes, I want to make the point here. We're not done yet.
Okay.
Just like we saw in the B-Spec field, that pole being reset well after the checkered flag came out.
Yes.
The car finishing their flying lap. I anticipate something similar here. The rain didn't really get very heavy in this initial portion of the cell that's moving towards us now, and if anything, the dry line has expanded.
Yes.
Particularly on these straights. So I don't really think we've lost any, if at all, pace out of the track with that most recent shower, and there's every chance we're going to see a new pole time set here as the checkered flag flies.
Yeah, right now I'm seeing the top 16 of the top 17 drivers have reset their personal best laps as well. We've got some drivers going too wide through the kink.
Just cut the wall, I think there, Greg.
Oh my.
Maybe not.
I don't like going too wide through the kink in the dry. Doing it in the wet is a recipe for disaster, and disaster was just averted here at Road America. I'm sure we'll get a call on that driver here in just a few moments. Joey Chitwood going and saving that car. But as time runs down,
there
Brett Kowalski goes to the top of the leaderboard at 255.57. Tyler Brown, 44 1/1000ths back from there. Ethan Ayers, who just a moment ago was your provisional pole sitter, he's now 8/10ths off the pole.
Yep, this is exactly what I was talking about, Greg. The track isn't getting any slower, and
Travis Wiley now going up to third. He is 6/10ths back from Tyler Brown. Ethan Goulart now bumps Wiley. It's now Goulart and Wiley provisionally on row number 2. Ethan Ayers 5th. Nick Leveroni makes a showing for the first time today in the top 10 on the last lap. Leveroni now 6th fastest.
Varwig to the pole.
Oh my, is Varwig, Sean Varwig, out of Lake Zurich, Illinois at 255.139 is the time that he throws down on his last flying lap. That is over 4/10ths faster than the rest of the field.
Exactly this, Greg. Last man standing. Right, you want to be the last car on track.
Ethan Ayers now goes to the pole.
There we go.
255.763.
No, 253.763. That's 1.3 seconds quicker than anybody else in the field. That is, again, look, you can actually see dry pavement here going into one. That is light gray all the way from through the braking zone into the apex of turn number 1.
And now the rain starts again starting to come down. As long as you can stay in the draft and have a pull from the car ahead of you, and you can stay in line and didn't have to break out of that groove all the way around this track, you are almost guaranteed to set a fast lap. Brendan, our top 11, actually our 15 of our top 20 drivers all reset their personal bests on the last lap. Ethan Ayers, your pole sitter. Sean Varwig, 1.3 seconds off the pole. I think that shows just what a flyer Ethan Ayers was on. Brett Kowalski, 3rd fastest out of Las Cruces. Tyler Brown, 4th. Ethan Goulart, that's the son. He was 5th fastest. Travis Wiley, 6th. Alfredo de Zidane makes his first showing in the top 10. The Miami, Florida driver ends up 7th fastest. Jonathan Davis, Domenico Luigi, 9th fastest. Miles Hewitt rounding out the top 10, 2.9 seconds separating our top 10 drivers, and given the wet conditions, that's not a large amount at all. All right, let me make a final call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock, final call to the grid for race group number 4. Please head to the grid, Spec Racer 4 Gen 3, because Denny Stripling here is watching. Group number 4, Spec Racer Ford Gen 3. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. I want to thank Denny Stripling for joining us in the chat here, by the way. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with you with more action from Road America. It is the 2024 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, the Chicago Region June Sprints. We'll be right back.
We're not supposed to be out here. Outside expectations. Built for the outdoors. With the capability to climb this high, we're not supposed to be out here. Which is exactly why we are. The off-road ready Mazda CX-50. We're looking for outsiders.
Welcome back, everybody, to National Park of Speed, Road America. I'm Chuckles. I'm Gregg Ginsberg along with Brendan Kazmarek. It is the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprints. And on track now for their 20-minute qualifying session, it is Spec Racer Ford Gen 3. And this, I believe, is, well, we just had, how many drivers did we just have out in Spec Miata? We had close to 80 out.
70.
70. Well, I believe...
Which is close to 80, Greg.
Yeah, which is very close to 80. Thank you, Brendan. We had in practice this morning, and again, just practice. We're just talking practice, 72 Spec Racer 4 Gen 3 racers. And so they are still coming off the grid for their outlap here at beautiful, slightly less damp 4-mile, 14-turn Road America.
All correct, Mr. Ginsberg. Slightly distracted. My brain went to a very odd place when you said the Spec Racer 4 Gen 3. I was wondering if those were the cars that were Generation 3, the drivers were Generation 3.
Well,
and then it led me to think about how many drivers are third generation of drivers that raced Spec Renault back in the day.
Yeah, and so unfortunately, I don't have. We have a number of third generation and fourth generation racers running here this weekend.
Sure. Yeah, I believe that. In any case.
And I was going to say, I think, and I'll double check. For example, let's see. Well, I was going to say.
Well, you do this research.
Yes, I'm
very
doing
important,
some
hard-hitting research here.
Thank you.
We're on about our third generation of weather here in the last 5 minutes as well.
Season number 5.
Yeah, we had dry but dreary, or drying but dreary. We had rain again as the last session ended. And now we're headed right back into bright sunshine with blue skies off to the south and west, where most of the weather has been coming from. So much like we got at the end of the last Spec Miata session, actually, look at the run down into turn 5 here. That's dry pavement.
Yes, it is. Well, I told you, and you can see here how much it's dried out. We saw it in Spec Miata, even as the rain was coming down. There were drivers locking up wheels, locking up brakes, with brake smoke going down into turn 5. And I think we're going to see here, as the sun is starting to kind of peek through the clouds in certain portions of this very large racetrack, we may see some portions that are dry by the end. So here's an interesting, and not necessarily a second or third generation racer, but David Tatke, who is out of Glenville, Illinois. He was 65th fastest in practice this morning, Brendan. Here's a neat note. His father, his father was on the fire and rescue crew here at Road America for over 30 years. Used to bring Dave here in the early 70s when he was working fire. That's when David started watching races here at Road America. And there are a number of stories like that. We've got a couple of folks here where their fathers actually helped with the construction of Road America. As we've got driver a little bit late to the grid. That's the number, I think it's the 15 machine.
Greg, I was pointing at the rain.
Oh, with the rain coming down again?
It's coming down again at turn 1.
Turn 1, but it is sunny and clear here about 1,000 feet further down the road where we are right by the start-finish line.
If I do the 1,000-yard stare out into the infield, I can't see any rain against the trees.
Looks like there's still some coming down at turn 3 also.
Remarkable how localized this is.
Oh, wow. It's just like going to Spa. Not that I've ever been.
Listen, if you're going to call any track the Spa of North America, Road America's probably it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a disingenuous comment. The vibes are similar. The top speeds, the reliance on top speeds is similar. The history, right, is remarkably similar. And even when you consider the generations of tracks and layouts and concepts of motorsports in their respective areas, even down to the curb colors, Greg, just like Spa. Spa doesn't have Mission Foods bridges.
That is true. We don't have the Chip Bridge.
Chipville, yeah.
Yeah, Chipville coming out of Speedville. So here, talk about multiple generation racers. I found a couple for you.
Okay.
Nolan Elder out of Lakeville, Minnesota. His father, Justin Elder, who I believe is out here racing today in the number 91 Spec Racer Ford, so they are on track here
Very
at
good.
the same time. And interestingly enough, Nolan's grandfather, that's John Elder, we'll see him in STL when STL goes out for their qualifying session tomorrow morning. So 3 generations racing here at the June
Love
Sprints.
it. I love it.
Yeah, it really
mostly
amazing to see
because
that.
it makes my comments sound not quite so,
Not so
dumb.
condescending.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, did I? And not only that, we've got husband and wife teams that are out in this group as well. We've got Andrea King, as well as her husband, who of course I can't get the name of
Russell
right now.
King, I think, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's Russell King that are here running as well, and Andrea driving the number 8 car. Actually, I think it's a 08 car. They're both out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we're going to see them in multiple race groups. Actually, I think Andrea just got out of her Spec Miata and got into the Spec Racer Ford Gen 3, and hubby. Actually, no, hubby's in. That's Russell. He's in the number 12 Spec Miata. Andrea is going to be racing in Touring 3. She just moved out of Spec Miata. Tension in the paddock. Would Ethan Jacobs, driver of the number 199 Spec Miata, please report to the race director in impound? Ethan Jacobs, driver of the number 199 Spec Miata, please report to the race director in impound. And would Bruce Nesbitt, driver of GT2 number 50, please report to the SOM room? Bruce Nesbitt, driver of the number 50 GT2 car, please report to the SOM room. And I believe that's directly across from us, down across the paddock there in, I forgot what they call that building, but it's just to the right of the big store here at Road America. All right, let's jump back to our Spec Racer Ford Gen 3 action. Sandy Satullo crosses the line, goes to the top of the leaderboard to complete his first flying lap with a time of 2:44.3, 3/10 up on Bobby Sack. Bobby was our fastest driver in practice here earlier today. I'll verify that in just a moment. No, I take that back. The Jansons, John Jansen and Craig Jansen, were the fastest drivers here earlier. Actually, it would help if I look at page 1 instead of page 2. Sorry, Jansons. Bobby Sack was your fastest driver in practice. Clay Russell second, Sandy Satullo third fastest, with about a 2.5 second spread between the three. Caleb Schrader was fourth fastest. Caleb Rothell was fifth fastest. And so it is Sandy Satullo, Clay Russell, Bobby Sack, Caleb Schrader, Caleb Rothell, Dave Ogburn. Now leapfrogs Rothell, so move Ogburn up to fifth fastest, Rothell sixth fastest, Peyton Long, Odd Vanacore, Carter Kunkel, Liam Flanagan, your top 10. Or as I like to call them, your top 7. Is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. We're already approaching halfway in this session, Greg.
Yeah.
Obviously, it takes us a long time to get the cars around a full lap circuit. Under full course yellow conditions, bring the cars to the green flag at start-finish to start their first flying lap, but tires aren't necessarily up to temperature, which of course you need in the rain. And so it really kind of takes a good couple of minutes to get the session going. And because of our shortened 20-minute sessions this afternoon, at that point you've already lost 30% of your run time.
Yeah, a good portion. Yeah.
So you're maybe looking at 6 or 7 flying laps
At most.
Right. And you know the track is going to be drying all the way through the session. A couple of cars around there at the top of turn 6.
Yeah. Three cars around. We'll try and get the numbers for you.
And because the track is going to be drying through the session, it's not like you can go set a lap early and then park it. You need to be on track when the end of the session comes around in order to have a shot at top 5, top 10 kind of lap time.
All right, the black car there, that is the 87 machine. Still trying to get numbers on the remaining. The 08 of Andrea King, who was in the light blue car, spun to avoid the 87 car, and so now still waiting. And that was Robert Wilkie trying to get a number on the third machine.
Denny Stripling in the chat. Much rather have him on track this weekend, but
yes.
Thrilled that Denny has joined us in the YouTube chat as part of our qualifying sessions. Says fastest laps will be the last lap, just like Spec Miata. We knew that was the case, but there will be some destroyed rain tires. And I had been thinking this towards the end of the Spec Miata session. If you're in one of these Spec Racer Fords, what do you do for tires? Right? Look at how rapidly the racing line has dried out. There's 70 Spec Racers out on track, taking water out of the track, putting temperature into the track.
Yeah.
Right? You know the session or the conditions are going to be changing rapidly. Do you take a flyer and go put on dry tires? Do you take that risk?
Given, and I'm sure Denny will probably give us a rundown of how long it would take somebody to change 4 tires on a Spec Racer Ford, but I would suspect you're going to probably, given the short number of laps that you have, probably going to lose most of them there. By the time you go and do an out lap, maybe you get 1 flyer.
That might be true, but what is that 1 flyer going to get you, right? It is a almost fully dry line all the way around the circuit. It's going to get you, basically, if you're, whether you're on wets or dries, your last lap is going to be the fastest.
Yeah, that's
right?
it.
Did anybody happen to go out on dry weather tires from the grid? Right, that may have been saying, well, I can just tool around for 4 or 5 laps until 4 minutes to go and then go set 2 flyers right at the end on my, they're not slicks, but my dry weather cut tires. It's such an interesting phase of the day to have to try to make these decisions. And with all of that, there's still light rain falling down there at turn 1. You could just see it in the camera headed down under the Arians Bridge. Yeah, you see it just against the trees here in the upper right.
So a little bit
fascinating from a strategic perspective, which is part of what I love about racing.
Exactly. And then here, turn 3, bone dry again. Where 10 minutes or 5 minutes ago, it was still raining and spitting rain there. Brian Schofield going to the top of the leaderboard at 2:49.955. Colin Clark now second fastest out of Houston, Texas. He is 9, almost a full second in arrears. Joseph Malley goes up to third fastest. He is also out of Houston, Texas.
The one thing that dry weather tires don't get you in these conditions, Greg, is margin for error. Because that racing line is so narrow, you've got to find clear tracks to where you're not going to have to go offline to make a pass.
Yeah.
Because getting offline on a set of slicks, again, not slicks, but of dry weather tires, could spell not just the end of your session, but the end of the weekend.
Yeah, indeed.
You could end up in real trouble.
So here's an interesting story, and I mention this only because I know Brian Bielanski had Denny Stripling on his podcast, the Inside the SCCA podcast, a couple of weeks ago, basically as a run-up to our races at Watkins Glen, and they started to talk about some of the younger drivers, and I know we've got a few very young drivers that are out in the field here. We just talked about Joseph Malley going up to third fastest in the number 199 car out of Houston. Joseph is 15 years old, and so put him on the radar here, a junior in high school. And both, I think his dad, Kevin, and also David Perkins run Spec Racer Sports out of Houston.
Yep.
So it certainly runs in the family. He has raced in 7 Spec Racer Ford races so far and come away with 3 podiums. So definitely somebody to watch.
Henry Tabor just made a comment in our YouTube chat. Had the opposite of this happen at PIR last year and have learned to trust my gut. What do you say about the young drivers? They don't come in with experience in these kind of conditions, right?
Yes.
How much rain racing experience do they have? How much anything experience do they have, right? They're 15 years old.
Right. They may be able to put down a very fast time in qualifying, but the racecraft is a little different.
That may be true, but sometimes all you have is your gut. Maybe you don't have experience in these conditions, but if what Henry's saying is to just trust your gut on tires and grip and changes of tires, sometimes it's all these younger drivers have. And so there's no overthinking. There's no making the wrong judgment because you're just, I don't want to say you're out there flying around on vibes, but you're flying around on what you feel in the car.
Right.
And sometimes that's really all you need to go quickly.
All right, well, somebody that Mr. Tabor knows well, and talking about flying around, here's the segue for you. Caleb Schrader now goes to the top of the leaderboard because he is flying. He is out of Tigard, Oregon. Turns in a time of 2:42.288. That's 0.6 clear of a former national champion, Brian Schofield, as we see Schofield now come under braking down into turn 5. And Schrader is, I believe, also still a teenager. Day job is working as an employee at Pat's Acres Racing Complex, which is an outdoor karting facility. And we've seen him race both Spec Racer Fords, I think FE2s. He was a 2023 Super Tour champion in Spec Racer Ford Gen 3, as well as a 2023 U.S. Majors champion, both in Spec Racer Ford Gen 3 and FE2. And I turned my head just to make sure he's still sitting on provisional pole, because usually by the time I finish running down all those things, somebody's gone in eclipse now.
Well, if it takes you roughly 2 minutes and 43 seconds to make those rounds,
usually it does.
Then good chance we're going to have a new pole sitter. These times have come down about 5 seconds since first flyers were put in at the beginning of the session. 2:42.288 is your provisional pole time. And I think when these cars come around again, if they haven't rooted the rain tires like Denny Stripling was suggesting, then you would anticipate a new time is going to be put in. One of the things I don't see here, Greg, is drivers moving offline to try to cool the tires in a straight line.
Not at all.
I saw 1 or 2 cars doing it previously.
Like right here,
there,
coming out of the kink. And doing it here where it maybe doesn't, well, I would say it does hurt them quite a bit.
But it's
there
really only a handful of drivers.
Yeah, and right now the top 23 of the top 25 drivers have reset fast lap. And talk about resetting fast lap. Clay Russell, 2-time national champion out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. He now goes to the top of the leaderboard with 6/10 in hand over Bobby Sack. Then it's Sandy Satullo, Caleb Rothel, Schrader, who just a moment ago was your provisional pole sitter. He's now 5th fastest.
And 3.3 seconds off the pole time that Clay Russell just set. That's a huge improvement over 1 lap.
Josh Hansen now moves up in the order. Hansen now is sitting in 4th position. Josh Hansen out of Burlington, Wisconsin, driving the 144 Elite Autosport machine. He's an old-timer at 19 years old, and in college, qualified 7th at the runoffs back in 2021. He's got 4 national wins already, and he also has been running in Spec MX-5 as well.
Stripling again with the pro observation. Pressure's likely too high. Now, my question would be, are you going to be able to set quicker times because of the improvement in track conditions, even with the spike in tire pressures? My guess would be yes to a point. But again, the dry line was already basically a fully dry line all the way around. So maybe that high 230 range is going to be the best we do.
Yeah. Well, we will see here. So we've got Clay Russell, Bobby Sack, Dan McGreen now moving up to 3rd fastest. He's out of Atlanta, Georgia in the 157 car. He eclipses Sandy Satullo. Josh Hansen for a moment there had been 3rd fastest. He now drops back to 5th. Schofield 6th. It was Jace Petty who I was thinking about. Jace Petty, who finished 5th at the runoffs last year at, I think, the ripe old age of 15. And he is currently your 7th fastest driver. Colin Clark, Rothel, Jean-Luc Liberato, former P2 racer, now moves up into the top 10. And, now that we have both, actually, I don't want to say anything here about Henry Tabor, who's been giving us a lot of great commentary, but now that we've got the 2 teammates, Stripling and Russ Turner, sitting in the chat, do we have a way of getting them in on our commentary here? Actually, they're doing a great job in the chat there. So we now have only about a half a minute remaining. Let me make another call to the grid for the next group. Attention in the paddock, attention in the paddock. Second call to the grid for Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X. Please head to the grid. Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next. All right, as the clock is running down here, we should see the checkered flag out in a moment. And there you go. Well, if our camera, and by the way, Brendan, again, nobody emailed me or texted me because my camera up on the roof died in the rain. Nobody can get to me all weekend long. Probably best thing that could have happened. Checkered flag is now out on the session. This camera is picking up our starters there on the tire rack starter bridge. Checkered flag is out.
New provisional pole sitter, Greg.
Wow, Josh Hansen.
Yeah, I was going to say Sack and Satullo went to the top very briefly, and we were talking about improvements now measured in hundredths and tenths rather than whole seconds. And then Josh Hansen and Brian Schofield came in and displaced Bobby Sack by 8/10 on their own.
That's, I mean, again, picking up time. And, you know, look, if you're able to make this time and everybody's out on wet weather tires, you know, if you were running 15th in the field, 30th in the field, it might have been a great move. But obviously here, everybody at the front still finding time as everybody is still setting fast laps. We'll see here is we're going to wait a couple seconds because there are a lot of changes here in the top 10 now. Some big changes as I think we've got the final drivers coming out of turn 10 and up the hill now. And we'll see if Josh Hansen can hold off the field here. And Brendan, I think he's gonna do it. Josh Hansen, I'm gonna still say he's our provisional pole sitter with a time of 2:37.763, 2/10 up on Brian Schofield, who should be starting on the outside of the front row. Bobby Sack and Sandy Satullo are going to start row number 2, almost 6/10 of a second back. Satullo 93/1000ths off a Sack. Caleb Orthel 5th, Clay Russell 6th, Jace Petty 7th, Dan McBreen 8th, Russ King 9th. Dave Ogburn will round out your top 10. All right, let's make a final call now to the grid for our next group, knowing that we just did it like 25 seconds ago. Tension in the paddock, final call to the grid for race group 5, Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and Formula X. Please head to grid. Your qualifying session is next. Race group number 5, please head to the grid. All right, so let's take a quick break. We'll be back here in just a few moments with more action from the National Park of Speed. It is the 2024 Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. At Hoosier, we know that our success is dependent on how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Racing Tire dealer near you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly tires designed for champions.
Mazza Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazza Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazza.com.
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, and now brakes and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts on both street and track. As official tire retailer of SCCA since 1995 and sponsor of the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trial Nationals, and National Tour and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
As the official fuel partner, Sunoco has been helping the SCCA and their drivers perform at their peak since 2001. Mile after mile, race after race, Sunoco's trusted the fuel over 50 racing bodies, including the SCCA, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. As the largest manufacturer of race fuels, they're passionate about helping drivers and teams take the lead. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRacefuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
Bravo Trailers is the exclusive trailer partner of the SCCA. Owned by longtime SCCA racers, Bravo Trailers work better, load easier, and tow better because we build them with racers in mind. Visit BravoTrailers.com to see your new trailer in aluminum or steel.
If you like what you see today, become part of the action by joining the Sports Car Club of America. Whether you want to drive, flag, organize, officiate, have fun with cars, or meet 65,000 enthusiast friends, SCCA offers plenty to feed your motorsports obsession. Ask someone trackside about how to get involved or visit SCCA.com for more information.
And welcome back, everybody, to the National Park of Speed for the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprint, rounds 19 and 20 of the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. I'm Gregg Ginsberg, along with Brendan Kazmarek. And, you know, Brendan, I should have seen this coming. I should have thought about it, especially after Spec Miata ended, but his drivers are putting in fast laps here in Spec Racer Ford. For those of you who weren't watching our live timing and scoring separately, as soon as we went to break, literally milliseconds after we went to break in Spec Racer Ford, Brian Schofield snatched pole away from John Hansen in a flyer, a 2:36.915, over half a second faster than the person who was our provisional pole sitter up until, well, about a hundredth of a second before we went to break.
Yeah, I even had my finger out, kind of pointed towards you, like, hey, maybe we just wait a second, and then we went to break anyway.
All his fault. We went to break anyway. You didn't say anything anyway.
Well, no, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't, you know. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's all my fault. All right. So a lot of drivers now here, and these are some of our fastest Formula car racers that we're going to see this weekend. Formula Atlantic, Formula Continental, and also Formula X, which is primarily old Star Mazda machines, older two-frame USF 2000 cars, a mishmash of different cars making up that Formula X class. But we are starting to see a lot of sticker tires, as I'm sure most of this field has now gone out on dry weather tires. I'm willing to bet that the one racer that we just saw searching for damp track coming out of the kink, probably one of the few drivers that went out on wet weather tires, and the fact that he's already trying to cool his tires down on the outlap is probably an ominous sign for him.
Bit of a giveaway there.
Yeah.
Again, it's so tricky to call this, as we have one of the FC, actually, I don't know if that 23 is into the pits or out of the pits. Anyway, it's tough to call this, right? You've got to make these kind of split-second decisions in real time there on the grid before you run out of time to do anything about it. Now, the good news is it only takes about a lap out there citing the conditions on the circuit to realize that you haven't got the right tires on the car and to come in and to do something about it. And actually, I wonder here if some of these late callers to the track that are trundling down the pit lane now are late because they were changing tires, either on the grid or in the paddock. Would certainly make a lot of sense. I don't think we're going to see the big gains and big jumps in lap time that we saw during the Spec Racer Ford session.
No.
As you can see now, the track is pretty fundamentally dry.
And there's another driver on wet weather tires.
Well, I know. I think
he
he's
might
right
be
out
just
of
pulling
the
off.
pits.
Yeah, so he's pulling offline. Yeah, he's just getting offline. Quickly here from practice this morning, and again on a dry track, Hans Peter out of Olathe, Kansas, was your fastest Atlantic driver, a time of 2:01.54, 3/10 up on Dudley Fleck.
Spinner up at 11.
Yeah, car spun coming out of the kink. We'll see if he can get that car back underway. He's pulling. Looks like he's trying to pull it off the track surface.
I think he's either high-sided there or just stuck in wet grass and can't get traction off that left rear tire.
All right, so Peter Fleck, Bruce Hamilton, Larry Howard, your top four in Formula Atlantic. And Formula Continental, Tim Miner out of Fredericksburg, Virginia, in his citation was fastest with a time of 2:11.68. Michael Verisons, a second back from there. Verisons out of Burlington, Wisconsin. John Burton LaRue, third fastest. And then Brian Tomasi, fourth fastest. And then in Formula X, and I'm looking to see if, yes, we do have Ken Denault, who I believe is our sole Formula X driver here this weekend. He's out of Cedar Falls, Iowa. All right, and we are going to a full course caution here, and that is the 127 car, I believe, that is off. Is that correct? As I'm looking at I was just looking at our electronic system, though. It's not.
It does say stopped.
Yeah, 127. Yeah, Hartley McDonald out of Mulberry, Florida. The Van Diemen RF06, the Florida RV sales machine, as we've got some of our wonderful Road America Emergency Services personnel responding to that machine.
Greg, since we missed the break during the last session, I think now would be a phenomenal time to take care of that before we forget again.
Yes. All right, so let me make a first call to the grid
I think it
for our
sounds
next
like a
group.
great idea.
Let me make a call out to Michael Collins. Actually, Mike's probably not watching right now, who would love that we are doing this so early, but let's make that call. This is going to be coming up our final session of the day. Attention in the paddock, First call to the grid for race group number 6. That's GT1, GT2, GT3, GTX, Touring 1, and American Sedan. Race group number 6. GT1, 2, and 3, GTX, T1, and American Sedan. Please come to the grid. And hey, Mike Collins is watching. All right, so in order to impress Mr. Collins, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back here in just a few moments with more action from the National Park of Speed.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for the hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid. Hawk has all your braking needs covered. Visit HawkPerformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
Tire Rack was established over 40 years ago by an SCCA member with a passion to find the right tires, wheels, and now brakes and suspension products for racers and enthusiasts on both street and track. As official tire retailer of SCCA since 1995 and sponsor the Runoffs Pole Award, along with the National Solo Program, Time Trials Nationals and National Tour, and Track Night in America, Tire Rack is proud to support the SCCA and its members as they go have fun with cars.
Mazda Vineyards is the exclusive sparkling wine for podium celebrations at the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour, SCCA Runoffs, and Tire Rack SCCA Pro Solo. Celebrate your racing weekend with Mazda Vineyards and learn more at enjoymazda.com.
Get more bang for your buck at summitracing.com. Choose from millions of in-stock parts from over 1,500 name brands. Parts for racing, street performance, trucks, plus tools, accessories, and more. Shop anytime, anywhere with the Summit Racing app.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. At Hoosier, we know that our success is dependent on how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Racing Tire dealer near you, or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly tires designed for champions.
Welcome back to Road America, Elkhart Lakes Road America, up here in beautiful central Wisconsin. This is the 69th consecutive WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints. Rounds 19 and 20, Mr. Ginsberg of the Hoosier Racing Tire.
Yes.
SCCA Super Tour.
Indeed. All right, so just as we went to break, you'll see now as we've got this shot coming out of turn 14, the final corner here at Road America, drivers coming up the pit lane. The field has been black flagged. And again, equivalent in the FIA of a red flag, having all the drivers come down the pit lane. And primarily, Brennan, because of where that incident was, where that disabled car was just coming out of the kink, the emergency service workers did not feel very comfortable working that incident with a number of drivers that they felt maybe were not slowing down and paying proper deference. If I saw a waving yellow flag there, yeah, I might.
No, would you be comfortable?
No,
I wouldn't either.
No, I thought you.
Emergency services workers, safety workers that go out on track and do hot pulls are, man, some of the bravest people you'll find at a racetrack. Never mind the drivers that have all kinds of safety equipment and safety cells surrounding them. Those are boots on the ground with cars on track.
Yeah, and you say that as having spent many years as an SCCA flagger. So I mean,
but I had barriers between me. And
that is true.
They've got,
Hey, we got this guy on the bike over here. I hope he doesn't go over. Don't do an endo down the hill, guy. Here is we've got the teams responding now. So as soon as we get this incident
he might have done an endo down the hill.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Well, he's turning back to look at the PA system, wondering why we're talking about him over there. But
Right.
so that's the reason for the black flag, and you can see we've got the emergency services team responding right now. So let's do this. We only have a single flying lap in the books for our drivers right now. Of course, you can see it there on the timing and scoring on the left-hand side of your screen. In Formula Atlantic, Hans Peter out of Olathe, Kansas, a time of 2:08.480, 7 seconds up right now on Dudley Fleck. Larry Howard, 0.8 back from there. Brandon Schwartz, 4th fastest, another 3 seconds back. So big, huge gap there in the top 2 rows. But again, none of these drivers really had a good opportunity to get some heat in those brand new tires and get up to speed. In Formula Continental, Michael Verison's out of Burlington, Wisconsin, 2:33.4. 3.8 seconds up on the rest of the Continental field, with Bill Johnson second fastest. Tim Miner only 42 1,000ths back from there. John Burton LaRue rounding out your top 4. And as we mentioned, Ken Denault, he's our sole Formula X driver.
Seconds tick away here, Greg. 8 minutes, 25 seconds remaining now. Again, we've talked a couple of times about how long it takes to get these sessions rolling. Even when we do go back to green, it's going to be something close to, well, probably 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, they're likely going to get 2 laps, maybe 2 flying laps, and then include that out or add that out lap in. Let me do this. Let me make another call to the grid for our next group while we have a little bit of time, and while we're trying to fill airtime. Attention in the paddock. Second call to the grid for race group number 6, our final qualifying group of the day. GT1, GT2, GT3, GTX, Touring 1, and American Sedan. Race group 6, please head to the grid. Your qualifying session is next.
For those of you who are with us for the first time this weekend, welcome along. Thanks for joining us. Paul Spillman in the YouTube chat says, hello all, new to the series. I regret to inform you it is the last Hoosier Super Tour of the 2024 season, but fear not, the SCCA is everywhere.
That's right. We've got regions, we've got regional race programs, we've got so many different disciplines of motorsports, whether it be road racing, solo and autocross. We talked about one of our rallycross champions just a little while ago. The Time Trials National Tour was just at Pocono just a few weeks ago, and I've been talking about our national championships, which are going to be at NCM Motorsports Park at the end of October.
For Time Trial Nationals.
For Time Trial Nationals, yes.
And of course, the SCCA Runoffs will be back here at Road America in about little over 3 months' time.
Yeah, very end of September, running into October, and both myself, Brian Bielanski will be here.
Rub it in.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Well, you can come and join us.
Sure, yeah. I could.
I would love to have you come here and join us. Hint, hint, hint.
Hey, speaking of,
yes,
I think I'm right in doing this. I've heard there's an announcement coming tomorrow.
Yes, correct.
And I think this is the first page for folks to join us tomorrow for this big announcement. I can't speak to the content or context, but we're going to have a special guest here and an announcement to follow
about SCCA road racing.
Road racing tomorrow. That make sure you tune in. I think we're going to see some awesome racing tomorrow anyway, and then you add this mystery layer.
Exactly. More reason to join us. I can tell you that it will not be happening during our the first hour and a half of the morning.
Sure,
we go on air at 8 a.m. We're going to be finishing up qualifying with 3 different groups. Right around 9:50 a.m. Central Time is when we go racing with 25-minute sprint races throughout the day for our 10 different race groups, I guess we can call it, over the course of the day. And again, we'll be making that announcement. I don't have a time for you here yet, but we will make sure to bring that up as we're just getting word now from Race Control. We're going to release cars here, Brendan, in just about a minute. So we've got now 5:15 left on the clock.
It's going to be one flyer.
Yeah, they're going to get one flying lap. That's it.
Yeah. Brian did just remind me the announcements can come before lunch.
Okay.
So if you think of the qualifying sessions as a bun and the race sessions as a brat, the announcements the sauerkraut.
Grilled or boiled.
And then we go to lunch and you just eat the bratwurst. How's that for local reference?
Right. You're getting close to getting us in trouble again.
No way. I would never.
Oh, my. All right.
It's going to be a fully dry track here when we go back to
Yes.
green, Greg. And even if we do see a few spots of rain, because those gray clouds are on the horizon once again, I think we're going to get some laps, or 8 lap in anger here to go back to end the session, basically. So it could be wholesale changes all throughout the grid.
Yeah, and so most of these drivers that went out on brand new slicks and on sticker tires spent that out lap and maybe a good portion of the last lap, last full lap, trying to get that release compound off of the outer portion of the tire. And as they finish this out lap, Brian, did I just call you Brian? See, I did it. I did do it today. Brendan,
not Larry yet.
There you go. No, I haven't called you Larry yet. I'm gonna hold that off for Bielanski tomorrow. But as these drivers complete that out lap and start what will likely be their only flying lap, they they'll definitely have that release compound off. The question is whether or not there's going to be adequate heat in the tires. But that is something that every one of these drivers is going to have to contend with.
I don't think temperature is going to be an issue today.
I mean,
Greg.
it's going to be an issue for every one of the racers that's out there.
66 ambient, and again with the track being dry, the track temperature should be a little bit above that. Let's say in the low 70s. So put some energy in on this out lap. You've got you're only going to get the 1 lap anyway. Right. There's no world in which you come around and get 2 full laps done to start a third, and therefore a second flyer. Right. So take your time on this out lap. You have up to 3 minutes. Get some energy in the tires. Get some heat in the brake, just like that red Formula. I think it's Continental there, headed down the back straight. Get the temperature and the energy into the operating components of the car, and then treat it like a hyperpole session, right? Like that one opportunity for a flyer, or let's say a super pole session, one opportunity for a flyer, you go throw your lap down, and that'll set the grid for our race to come tomorrow afternoon. Spinner up there.
And Spinner, and he kept it out of the mud. Now let's see if this driver can get that car back underway here in a real bad spot as drivers come up over the crest of the hill at turn 6. They come underneath that Corvette bridge, and they're going to see this come at them very, very quickly. We'll see if he can get that car underway. If he can't, here, Brendan, that may be it for qualifying if he can't get moving. And so I was gonna say here, so Dudley Fleck, who's currently your second fastest driver here in Formula Atlantic, and he is sitting at, when they pitted in, Brendan, almost 7.5 seconds back from Hans Peter, who just now crosses the start-finish line to start what could be his only flying lap. Peter was our June Sprints winner all the way back in 1986.
Good heavens. Some experience.
Yes.
I want to make a quick note here. If they decide to treat this car that spun up at turn 6 as essentially being a session ender, right? Not necessarily we're going to shut the whole thing down and go black flag or full course yellow or anything.
Right.
If they just throw the checkered flag here at the start, these flying laps are still going to count.
Sure.
We've got Formula Atlantic lap times in the 225s, Continental times in the high 230s.
And
That's
there
exactly
it is, checkered flag is out.
So, yes, we've got cars that aren't going to be able to start a flyer, but these cars headed out of turn 3 now are on timed flying laps.
Yes.
Obviously, you don't push in the yellow flag zone from 5 up to 6, but the rest of the lap is a valid lap.
That's right. And so, the question is,
do not throw your foot out of the throttle here just because you've got this yellow. Pay attention to it, heat it, slow down and handle it appropriately. But there's every chance you could lose 10 seconds in this yellow flag zone and still set a faster
lap than what you did before the black flag came out.
Get through this and handle it right, but then get your foot back in the throttle and set the time. It could be worth a couple of rows worth of position. Not like that.
No, as they come 2 and 3 wide out of turn 6, so we can see. Yeah, and they're gonna now show a waving yellow at turn 5 instead of the standing yellow, so drivers know that there's perhaps a little bit more at stake there as they come up the hill. As we just had, I think that was Hans Peter come down the pit lane, Brendan, and call off what would have been his only flying lap here. We're gonna check this out as we're now starting to see some cars come across the line. And I am not seeing any fast laps set here as of yet. Oh, there you go. No, that was Hans Peter now in the red 06. He comes across the stripe. He knocked about 2 seconds off his previous lap time, but now going up to the top of the leaderboard, J.R. Osborne in his citation out of Greenwood Village, Colorado, with 0.3 of a second on Hans Peter. Brandon Schwartz now moving into third in his Formula 3 machine in the Ligier. Big surprise there. Typically, those Ligers, maybe not the most competitive in Atlantics, but he moves up to third fastest. Dudley Fleck, who had been sitting on the outside of the front row when drivers went out on track, Fleck now sits fourth. Larry Howard fifth, Adrian Morrill sixth, Rob Radman seventh, John McAleer eighth, Bruce Hamilton ninth, Marcel LaFontaine after him, and we're going to check to see if there are any more changes here, and we'll hold on a little bit longer than in Spec Racer 4 Gen 3. If we go and take a look at Formula Continental right now, it is Michael Verisons sitting at the top of the leaderboard. He sets his fastest lap at a 2:16.8. He is currently, Brendan, 11 seconds up on the rest of the Continental field. David Oddie, I believe it's Oddie, out of Elkhart Lake, second fastest driver in his Reynard. Bill Johnson, third fastest. He's out of Leawood, Kansas. Tim Miner dropping all the way to fourth, and a 20-second spread across the top four drivers in Formula Continental.
And again, this is because Verisons was out there and got a flying lap going before the early checkered.
Right.
And kept his foot in it, you know, obviously other than the yellow flag zone there. At
so essentially the out lap became the flyer almost.
Well, it was the lap following the out lap.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part in all of that is that the early checkered, as a result of the spun car at 6, meant some cars took the checkered on their outlap.
Outlap, exactly.
I said take your time, put energy into the tires, but that was before the checkered was thrown about a minute and a half early. So that's why you have these, part of the reason anyway, you have these big spreads, particularly in that FC field, because I think a couple of those FC cars didn't quite get around to start a flyer, which is a little unfortunate. We'll have to wait and see as to split starts or gap starts tomorrow.
That is correct.
We do typically see them in formula groups, and with such a big Atlantics field this weekend and a good-sized Continental field this weekend, I wonder if we're going to get a split start for this group tomorrow that would kind of negate some of that. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and look. We've gotten some word about some split starts for some of the groups here tomorrow. I haven't seen one yet. For this group. If we get some information about it, obviously we'll let you know. Let's do this. Let's make a final call to the grid for our next group. Attention in the paddock. Attention in the paddock. Final call to the grid for race group number 6. GT1, GT2, GT3. GTX, Touring 1 and American Sedan, Race Group 6. Please head to the grid. Your qualifying session starting in just a few moments. Race Group 6 to the grid. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Probably going to be our last break of. No, we've got a break during the last session. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Got to pay the bills. If people were wondering why we were going to break, money, 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 everybody. We're going to be back here in just a few moments with more action from the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region June Sprints. We'll be back in just a few.
My customer experience with Mazda has been absolutely fantastic.
I'm probably not the richest person out here, and they're extremely reasonably priced, and you can buy parts easily, and it's a class that fits both what I want from a racing standpoint and what I can afford.
We got into Mazdas largely just because it's a fantastic platform, and Mazda Motorsports has some of the best support for the grassroots racer in parts and technical advice and everything else, so they make it easy for us to run these cars.
And welcome back, everybody, to the National Park of Speed, Road America, for rounds 19 and 20 of the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour. Specifically, this is the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, the largest June Sprints on record, Brendan, where we have, I think close to 580 entries here in what is always a run-up to the runoffs when we have them here at Road America.
Yeah, the official count is going to come from cars that turn a lap during the course of the race weekend. Theoretically, practice should get you to that number, but occasionally you'll have some cars not run on a Friday due to a technical issue or something like that, and they come in on Saturday or Sunday. As long as we clear something around 5:30, I think 5:33 maybe, it will become the largest June Sprints on record. That record was set back in 1995, I think was the number they found. So as long as we had more than 530 cars turn laps in practice today, then this will become the largest June Sprints on record. Again, the runoffs will be back here in October, returning to Road America for the first time in a number of years, and it's a great opportunity to prep for the runoffs. Also just an opportunity to be part of a really historic event within SCCA road racing. Obviously, the runoffs carry their own weight and gravitas, but 69 consecutive runnings of an amateur road racing event. It's a spectator event for the fine folks up here at Road America. The buy-in from the local community here is just
always
phenomenal.
huge, absolutely huge.
And it really is as much a cultural experience in central Wisconsin as it is in SCCA.
I pulled into the super secret employee gate here at 6:30 this morning, Brendan,
Tell me more.
There were people lined up at the not so super secret spectator gate waiting to get in. A lot of people on a qualifying day. I mean, it is just amazing how much local support that they get here at Road America. And I should also mention, I want to thank the great marketing staff and everybody here at the track. They really make things easy for us over the course of a weekend. All right, heading out on track now, and actually we'll see, just as we still have a ton of drivers coming off the pit lane, we've got many drivers completing their out laps here, and they'll be starting their first flying laps here for their qualifying session. Is the track now, Brennan, almost completely dry, I think, pretty much everywhere around, and that's a good thing because we've been watching the weather radar of late, and it sounds as though we might start to see a little bit more precip right around the end of this session.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah. So drivers,
the old camera.
Yeah, and you saw some of our GT1 racers coming out of turn 3 with the headlights flashing. They're trying to get some laps in early here that they don't want to run the risk of catching some precipitation here at the end of the session.
Yeah, there is a sense of urgency here, Greg. Unironically, I mean, it's not just, hey, got to get the lap in. There's no more laps after this, but it could start raining at any point in the next 10 minutes. And especially for these high horsepower cars, I think traction is going to, almost certainly will be affected more on these cars than on a number of our other groups.
Indeed.
So you want to get these laps in. Dave Pintarek was right off the bat, full throttle down the front straightaway as a few of the last American sedan cars were headed out of the pit lane, trying to get that initial flyer in. But traffic here is really going to be a challenge. So you've got to keep trying to get these laps in. Spinner up at turn 6 we see on Flagtronics here. Looks like car 6. In the wall.
Yeah, and all the way.
No. I think he's pulled off there.
Yeah, well, it looks like he likely there, maybe an overheating engine.
Yeah.
From the looks of it, and that is, I think, one of our challengers that is out there. It is certainly, don't worry, it's not Adam Ramito. In the one car, we'll try and get the driver of that machine here as things move through and drivers move through. I'll try and get that for you. In the meantime, some notables that we have out here. We see this the Lamborghini now, the GT1 Lamborghini crossing the stripe and completing a lap. That is. Oh my gosh, All of a sudden, I'm having trouble finding the information on the Lamborghini that has won so many races here this year.
Michael McAleenan?
McAleenan, thank you. That just walked the field at Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago. We saw him be very strong in both the wet and the dry in that GT3 Lamborghini Huracan to open up the season at Sebring. And currently, though, Adam Ramito in his Dodge Challenger. And there we saw 5 cars go through turn 5. Big ball of fire as Adam Ramito on the overrun goes and downshifts to try and get through turn 5. He is currently your provisional pole sitter in GT1 with a time of 2:17.17, 1.6 seconds up on Dave Rouleau's Chevy Corvette. Then we've got Tim Kesman. Great to see Tim Kesman back running for Fall Line Motorsports. He moves out of GT2 and up to GT1 in a Porsche 911 992 Cup car, the number 118 machine. He had a masterful race at the Runoffs. Great race with Andrew Aquilante at the Runoffs at Indianapolis back in 2021. Michael McAleenan, currently your 4th fastest racer in GT2. We're starting to already see some drivers come down the pit lane. So there was a question that came in about why we saw cars still leaving the pit lane as racers were starting their first flying laps. The reason being, we have currently 62 drivers that have put in times during this session. We actually had over 70 drivers in this group set times during the practice this morning. In GTX currently, Brian French in his Ligier LMP3 machine. I'm not sure if that's a JS320, but the Sheboygan, Wisconsin driver, currently with 3 seconds on the rest of the GTX field. We've got Brent Scroggin in his M4 GT4, 2nd fastest driver. And then Brianna Ogden, she's out for the 2nd Super Tour event in a row in her Porsche GT4 RS Club Sport after having started the year out, I think, in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo.
That's the WeatherTech Mustang smoking headed down to turn number 1, Greg.
That's Andy McDermott there in his Ford Mustang. And Andy, the last time I saw him here at Road America, at least for the runoffs, he had some mechanical issues. That car is built on such an edge, as many American sedan cars are. Obviously, keeping them running either over the course of a full race or even in a qualifying session here, very, very difficult. In American sedan at the moment, Greg Eaton, who's a multi-time national champion, is your fastest driver on track. McDermott was 2nd fastest, and then Kyle Jones was 3rd. But now Evan Pecor out of Newton, Wisconsin in a Mustang GT. He now goes to the top of the leaderboard in American sedan with 2/10 on Greg Eaton. GT3, we haven't talked about somebody who knows Road America very well. I believe he's been on the board of directors at Road America for quite some time, and that is Petey Cunningham of Real Time Racing fame. He is out here in a Honda Civic TCR machine. And running. He is currently your fastest GT3 machine. He's got 12 seconds on the GT3 field. Michael Lewis in his Mazda RX-7, currently 2nd fastest. George Shishon in his Mazda RX-7, a 2nd back from there. But right now, Cunningham with a very, I don't want to call it insurmountable, but a big lead there. In Touring 1, Winnetka, Illinois' multi-time national champion Mark Bowden running for the 2nd season in a row here, a Mercedes-Benz AMG GT4 car. Currently your fastest driver in the class. Hugh Stewart out of Milford, Connecticut in his BMW E46, currently your 2nd fastest driver. Paolo Salvatore in a Mustang, 3rd fastest.
Just as you wrap up and just as we get to the halfway mark of this final session, a qualifying session for the day, the rain begins to fall here at turn number 5.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. So that may really put a damper on a lot of drivers with their qualifying. But let's do this. We don't have any more groups to call to the grid, but let's take our last break of the afternoon. We'll be back with more action here from Road America and the 69th consecutive June Sprints.
Hoosier Racing Tire is proud to be the presenting sponsor of SCCA Super Tour. Hoosier's mission is to be the dominant customer-driven provider of tires to race teams domestically and internationally. At Hoosier, we know that our success is dependent on how well we meet our customers' expectations by providing the safest, most reliable, high-quality race tires that put you in the winner's circle. For more information, see our trackside support personnel or the local Hoosier Racing Tire dealer near you. Or contact us at HoosierTire.com. Hoosier Racing Tires, truly tires designed for champions.
Hagerty is the official and exclusive insurance partner for SCCA and provides affordable off-track insurance protection for motorsports vehicles while in the paddock, in transit, in storage, and at the shop. Hagerty also provides guaranteed value coverage and even has protection for your trailer. Did you know that SCCA members can save 5% on insurance through Hagerty? Hagerty, let's drive together. Learn more at Hagerty.com.
Get more bang for your buck at SummitRacing.com. Choose from millions of in-stock parts from over 1,500 name brands. Parts for racing, street performance, trucks, plus tools, accessories, and more. Shop anytime, anywhere with the Summit Racing app.
As the official fuel partner, Sunoco has been helping the SCCA and their drivers perform at their peak since 2001. Mile after mile, race after race, Sunoco's trusted the fuel over 50 racing bodies, including the SCCA, SCCA Pro Racing, Trans Am, NHRA, and NASCAR. As the largest manufacturer of race fuels, they're passionate about helping drivers and teams take the lead. To find race gas near you, visit SunocoRacefuels.com or call Sunoco at 800-RACE-GAS.
For over 25 years, championship-winning drivers and teams have demanded Hawk Performance Motorsports brake pads. Now you can have their advanced technology on your daily car, truck, or SUV with Hawk Performance Street products. With the improved HP Plus pad for the hybrid street and track feel, or Super Duty pads for tow vehicles, their all-new ER brake pad designed to take on even the longest race, and their all-new high-performance brake fluid. Hawk has all your braking needs covered. Visit hawkperformance.com and like them on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about the Hawk Performance Advantage. Hawk Performance, what's stopping you?
If you like what you see today, become part of the action by joining the Sports Car Club of America. Whether you want to drive, flag, organize, officiate, have fun with cars, or meet 65,000 enthusiast friends, SCCA has plenty to feed your motorsport obsession. Ask someone trackside how to get involved or visit scca.com for more information.
All right, everybody, welcome back for the remainder of our Big Bore qualifying session, our last session here of the day from the National Park Speed Road America. I'm Gregg Ginsberg along with Brendan Kesmerick. And Brendan, we see here a lot of drivers starting to head to the pit lane as I think just the small amount of dampness bit of an issue for some of these faster, higher horsepower cars.
I have an opinion.
Of course you do.
While you're not going to set a quicker time and you don't want to risk the car unnecessarily in changing conditions, we know more of the same is coming tomorrow.
Yes.
We know more of these checkered flag at start. There was a spin and a light impact into the tire wall down at the exit of Canada Corner,
yeah.
Which I think they're going to recover. Anyway, I don't know that I would pass up the opportunity to drive through a weather transition. Not in anger, right? You don't need to put anything at risk. But feel out what the change in grip is like as the rain starts to fall.
Yeah.
So that when you get to the race tomorrow, whether it's fully wet or changing or whatever, at least you've got a couple of minutes or a couple of laps worth of experience to where the grip is, how it changes, how quickly it comes in or goes away. I think that's not worth nothing here.
No, I agree. And so the track surface, I think, is very different than from when we were here last year for the June sprints.
Also probably true.
But you know, I talked earlier about our small bore group where we had the black flag their race when the rain started pouring down here and how things changed so drastically. By the time that same day this group went out on track, it was completely dry again. So a lot of these racers, I don't think, have experienced the damp track here at Road America. And so maybe a couple of laps to see what happens in case they get into this tomorrow might not be a bad idea. But as Brendan said, checkered flag is out on the session. And, well, it looks like we've got the couple cars that we're seeing kind of at speed now coming through the kink, like that Mustang, for example. I think I've already seen the checkered flag. Let's go and start running down where we ended up here. I think we had maybe a max of 3 flying laps for most of our drivers, 4 laps total if you include the out lap. We'll take a look first at GT1, where Dave Pinterick, and I think this, Brendan, was right as we were going to break. Dave Pinterick moved to the top of the leaderboard in GT1, and he finishes the session fastest of all of our drivers with a time of 207.6. That's 0.4 up on Adam Ramito, who led the session early on in his Dodge Challenger. Dave Verullo in his Chevy Corvette, third fastest. Michael McAleenan in that Lamborghini Huracan, fourth fastest. And and we've mentioned this previously, Brendan. Of course, the differences between McAleenan's Lamborghini and having a GT3 car versus the more traditional GT1 machines, the tube-framed cars, and how I keep trying to call it a McLaren, the Lamborghini has so much of an advantage aero-wise, but especially at a track like this with the very long straightaways, as long as you can get those traditional GT1 cars straightened up and get a good dig out of some of these corners, these long straights, they're going to probably have the advantage here this weekend. We saw it here in qualifying. Ryan McManus was our fifth fastest GT1 car. GT2, Brad McAllister in his Ford Mustang. He's out of Sherwood, Oregon. He goes to the top of the leaderboard, 1.2 seconds up on Jonathan Start. And it's great to see Jonathan in that number 51 Dodge Viper running so strong here. Of course, he is out of Caledonia, Michigan. I look back to the runoffs that were here back in 2021, and he had just an absolutely horrific wreck coming out of turn 1, going down into turn 2. So glad to see that car back together. Our good friend Chris Childs from Angry Sheep Motorsports looks after that car. Lou Gelati, who we saw in a Chevy Corvette at Watkins Glen 2 weeks ago, third fastest driver, 1.7 seconds off of the class pole. Danny Bender, who I don't think we've seen since the last couple of corners of the 2022 National Championship runoffs of VIR. He's in his GT2 Chevy Camaro, fourth fastest here in qualifying. Charlie Peter, fifth fastest in his Porsche GT3 Cup car. Now, if we move over to speaking of GT3, if we move over to the GT3 class, Peter Cunningham, our provisional pole sitter. Michael Lewis cut a good amount of time off, but still 6.7 seconds back from the Honda Civic Type R TCR that Cunningham is driving. George Chichon, third fastest. Armin McGregor in his Mazda Miata is fourth fastest. Then let's move over to GTX. Brian French in his Ligier, still your fastest driver with a 3.7 second advantage over Brett Scroggin and Brianna Ogden. American Sedan, Evan Pecori, your provisional pole sitter going into the race tomorrow in his Ford Mustang. Greg Eaton, second fastest. Andy McDermott, and we'll have to see if McDermott can get that car ready to go for tomorrow. Third fastest, Kyle Gilbert. Fourth fastest, Kyle Jones. Fifth fastest. And finally, in Touring 1, Mark Bowden with a qualifying time at 2:22.1, 2.8 seconds up on Hugh Stewart. Paulo Salvatore, third fastest, with Brian Goodman, fourth fastest. All right, so, Brendan, why don't we go to wrap things up? Or, no, you've got a comment, please.
No, I was encouraging you to wrap things up.
There we go. So let's wrap things up. We are going to be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. I'll let you guys do the math if you're on the West Coast. I'm sure Russell Lundberg will probably be the only person who's listening to us on the West Coast anyhow that early in the morning. Well, maybe he's not, but he's always in early with us. But we are going to be starting off at 8 a.m. Central Time. We're going to be wrapping up qualifying with 3 qualifying groups, and then we're going to be going racing 10 25-minute races.
Yes. The most I think we've ever tried to pack into a day.
Yes, by far.
Racing should begin somewhere between 9:50 and 10 o'clock. It's a followed by schedule tomorrow. So a little bit of tentativeness around the schedule, but just join us at 8, and then you're not going to miss a thing. 3 more qualifying sessions, like you said, and then 10 awesome races, 25-minute long races to come.
And remember to join us. We've got the special announcement tomorrow morning. Right around, is it Group 3, Spec Miata, if I remember correctly, or did we say it was Group 4? Group 4, Spec Racer 4 Gen 3, which should be our last race before lunch. So definitely join us for that. I'm sure it has been pitched to me as being incredibly exciting. So I want to make sure that you join us. I've already had a couple of people asking behind the scenes, can I fill them in? And the answer is no, absolutely
no, for
not.
Sure. It is after Group 3, by the way. That'll be our last race before lunch. Greg, I just want to say a quick thank you to you and to Brian. This will be my last time on the air, save for maybe some thank yous at the end of Sunday as we wrap up the Super Tour season. But getting to call qualifying on the odd Friday this year has been a real treat for me. It kind of sets the tone for the race weekend before I get into the nitty-gritty of the production stuff along with Jordan Worth. It's been a real thrill to be a part of that this year. Tomorrow, you as a viewer, and you trackside will be left in the very capable hands of Mr. Bielanski, Brian Bielanski, who is just over my shoulder here.
And then the not so capable
Ginsberg.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to 2 really great days of racing. It's been a phenomenal season. And what better way to wrap it up than here at the June Sprints at Road America?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us here, Brendan, as you've helped me out with qualifying now for, well, about half the Super Tour, and it's been wonderful having you in the booth here. And, of course, thank you so much to Jordan Worth, our director from DriversEye Live, who's brought you all the action and all the great, pretty pictures here today, and will do so for the rest of the weekend. All right, so for Brendan Kesmerick, I'm Gregg Ginsberg, and for Jordan Worth, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, for the 69th consecutive running of the WeatherTech Chicago Region SCCA June Sprints, part of the Hoosier Racing Tire SCCA Super Tour.